Good evening. This is a call to order for the Bridgeport Board of Education regular board meeting. Today's date is January 22nd, 2024. The time now is 6:43 p.m. The second item on the agenda will be the Pledge of Allegiance, so I ask you all to stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary Jennifer Perez, can you please do roll call? They're experiencing technical difficulties. We're gonna let Ike come up.
I'll be loud. They're all lit down there.
Is it?
Sahiba Bain,
Is it because of
Christine Baptiste Perez,
present?
Albert Benahan,
Present.
Lakeisha Casimir,
Present.
Willie Medina,
Present.
Student reps are next now.
Jennifer Perez is present, Joseph Sakalovic,
Present.
Robert Traber,
Here.
Andre Woodson.
Present.
The next item on the agenda is our student representatives. So I just want to welcome them all for being here, Dressed for Success. We're going to start with our student representative from Hardin High School.
Good afternoon.
You have to push the button. No, you're ready.
Good afternoon. My name is Hannah Perez and I am from Warren Harding High School. One of the things that I aspire to be when I grow up is to be an optometrist and a realtor. As we had a leadership training a few weeks ago, one of the things that stayed with me was that leading is not just about being a leader, but also of inspiring others. It's not about giving up, but it's about moving forward and standing firm on what we aspire to become, and also be ready for the obstacles. As it relates to Harding, some of the things that have been going on these past weeks are that many seniors have been accepted to four-year institutions. Thankfully, I was accepted to Western University. Also, semester 2 started today, and students from the 9th grade to 11th grade are getting ready for SATs, and seniors are completing their FAFSA. Now, I would like to introduce my colleague from Warren Harding High School, Ivanski.
My name is Ivanski. My name is Ivanski Pedro. I am the student representative for Harding High School. I am a Haitian who was born in Norwalk but mostly raised in the city of Bridgeport. In my early years, I would travel with my family, but during those years, I've met a lot of inspiring individuals, mainly in Bridgeport. My plans after high school is to attend a four-year institution. And I plan on majoring in business and afterwards taking my science classes to be able to enroll myself in this school in the hope of starting a business in the medical field. How my college process been going, I have been accepted to all the state schools in Connecticut for the CAP. What I've learned through the leadership training is that leadership isn't about telling others what to do. It's about taking responsibility and being accountable for your actions.
Good afternoon.
My name is Sayal Almazan, and I'll be representing Bridgeport Regional Office, which is the Science and Technology. And as we start off the second semester, we're excited and awkward to see what we might encounter, especially out on the sea when we're doing our scientific research out on our new boat. And for my plans after high school is to attend a 4-year college with a focus of business and finance. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Beyonce Philogene. I'm representing BASIC. I would also like to thank Dr. Carmela for her invitation into the leadership program as she did with us. Through that, I truly see that we have a superintendent who is working really hard to get to know the students on a personal level. And I'm very thankful that she's willing to write me a recommendation letter. As to BASIC, recently our ELL students took a field trip to an art exhibition at Pierre Institute. We also had various students partake in the science fair and they also completed it. So congratulations to our freshmen and sophomores. In latest news, our NHS are planning an upcoming blood drive with the Red Cross. We have scheduled that for March 22nd as a way to just help fundraise our school and create community around BASIC. With the student council, we have also been able to set up a Chipotle Day to help raise funds for our school prom. We plan to, well, Chipotle has offered us 33% of the profits made that day, and that will go towards helping decorations, food, and covering the cost of the rest of our prom. Now, I would like to recognize my colleague, Brenda Ronza.
Everyone, my name is Brenda Ranza. I am a student at BASIC representing as well with my partner Beyonce. Also, I want to say what I took away from the last session with Dr. Carmela is that I think I already had a predisposed idea of like leadership, but it really changed my perspective on what it is to truly be a leader. And I hope that my experience here as a student representative will continue to build on that. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Evan Arroyo. I am the primary representative for Bridgeport Military Academy. Today I'll be talking about more about the problems that we want our school to fix, like better lunches. Me and my representative had an idea of having vending machines so that students who don't eat the school lunch, based on if they don't like it or not, could have a snack so they won't feel, or they could stay focused in school. And the money made from the vending machines could go to our school for like decorations and everything that we could put into our school to help students when they walk in see a different perspective and won't have to see all the boring different things they have to see in the school already. Also more bus passes and bus stops for students. Because the distance right now, I'm pretty sure is 2 miles away. And before I lived 1.8 miles away, which is still close to 2 miles, and I still had to figure out a way to school because I couldn't get a bus stop, which I think should be something that should change because students who still live that far are still struggling to find a way to school. And it could mess up their academic activities at school. That's really all we had to talk about. Our new semester started today and all students are starting their new classes today. If they have any problems, they could go to their guidance counselor to switch their classes. And so far, we're trying to get into the new semester. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rahama Chaudhry. I'm currently a senior at Central High School in the magnet program. I plan on graduating at the end of the semester and attending most likely the University of Connecticut Stores, and I plan on double majoring in data science and anthropology. Before I get into my student report regarding my school, I would first like to take the time to introduce my colleague, Rebecca Almeida. So Rebecca, if you could please stand up.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rebecca Almeida. I'm a senior at Central High School and I'm also a student at Brass Tech. I've been a student in the Bridgeport Public School District since I was in kindergarten, so a very long time. And I will be representing Central at future meetings. As for my future plans, I just committed to Fordham University and I'm going to be majoring in business marketing at their Gabelli School of Business. I'm excited to work with the superintendent and fellow board members throughout the academic year. Thank you.
So now to get into my report, I would first like to mention how currently we are having a FAFSA help session within our school. So seniors can sign up to bring themselves and their parents to our library, and guidance counselors and a FAFSA advisor are currently advising students as to how to fill out the FAFSA, form a FSA ID, and basically just help all the students file their FAFSA, which is a huge help and a huge help to overcome this huge barrier that a lot of students, especially students in a lower income neighborhood, struggle with. So we would like to continue to have workshops such as these. An issue that I would like to bring up, however, is the issue of bathrooms at Central. For the better part of a year, the bathrooms at our school have been defiled with graffiti. For months, the bathroom walls just covered in graffiti, and students can go weeks without having soap in the bathrooms, without having toilet paper, and without even having locks on the bathroom doors. My colleague and I believe that if we were to help the bathroom situation at Central, we would create a more sanitary and safer environment for our students to learn in. Furthermore, I wanted to take the time to thank Superintendent Dr. Carmela Levy-David for inviting us to a student leadership seminar. During that seminar, we learned a lot about leadership. She definitely taught us to question our preconceived notions on leadership and just how we can be a leader within our community. And I would also like to thank her for showing us that she is clearly committed to her role as a superintendent in our district, and she is committed to the well-being of our students and making this district a better community for all of us. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Abil Gabriel, and first and foremost, I want to thank Dr. Carmela for inviting us to the support leadership thing. I don't remember what it's called, but there I learned that leadership is it's not only being able to lead others, but also learning from the people you lead. I also want to thank her for supporting a new generation of learners so that each student can reach their full potential. Before I report, I want to introduce my friend and also the other student representative for Arrow, Monique Harvey.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Monique Harvey. I am a senior attending Wheeler Engineering High School. Outside of school, I love to meet new people, draw, read, and write. After high school, I will attend university and major in psychology.
Yes.
At the moment right now, a lot of our seniors have been getting accepted to the schools they've applied. Also, my application process, I applied to Questbridge and got a full ride to Stanford University. For the school report, it's not much happening right now, but we finished our semester and final sweep is over. But for tomorrow will be a makeup day, so students from Arrow are going to their first and third period to do their makeup. That's it. Thank you so much.
I did it. Oh, I did it. Now you turned it off.
Oh. Okay, sorry. Good evening, board members and everyone at this meeting. My name is Jeremy Alvarado, and I am a junior attending Fairchild Wheeler Biotechnology and Zoological Studies High School. I would like to introduce my colleague, but unfortunately she is not here today, Angeline Tran, who is a senior, who is also the second student representative. She's also glad to be a student representative as I am. In my future, I plan on focusing on a marine biology or conservation-based career in order to pursue my passion of helping our greater Earth, which is the planet. I plan on using my responsibility as a student representative in order to speak for the students who do not have a voice and make sure that every student at Fairchild Wheeler has the best high school experience that everyone deserves. after attending the leadership meeting that we had with Superintendent Dr. Carmela David, I have definitely seen an improvement in my leadership, and I see it as a way to just, speak for the silent, because we all want our thoughts to be heard, and I feel like it's very important that we're able to use our role and responsibility to help everyone. At Fairchild Wheeler Biotechnology High School, there has not been much updates. Students have taken their finals. We have now entered our second semester. We have received some input about students' dissatisfaction with their school lunches. No specifics yet, but once we receive some input, I will be able to report them. A new update, though, is Fairchild Wheeler has introduced a new Introduction to Theater and Studio Arts class, which is part of Dr. Carmela David's plan to introduce more of the arts into our Bridgeport Public Schools, which I feel is very important for students who like expressing themselves through theater and these performing arts to fully express themselves, and they're able to have a happy experience. Nothing else for now. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Board of Education. My name is Saulo Martins, and I'm here representing Fairchild Wheeler IT. First of all, I would like to share some of my goals, and not just that. Last year, I had the opportunity to represent Bridgeport and my school in state competitions, computer science state competitions, where I was awarded on it. And also, my plan for my future is major in computer science, and I want to use my role as a student representative in order to help students have the best high school experience they can. And my progress report for my school year is our school is starting to the second semester, and there's not much to report. Thank you.
Thank you all to my student leaders. Most of you guys are seniors, so you would have been sophomores when I joined on the board, and I'm so proud of you just to hear about some of the amazing institutions you guys are going to. And as a board, your success and you being here reminds us that we are all here to serve the kids. So thank you for your leadership, and thank you for being here. The next item on the agenda is public comment. The first person that we have up to speak is Jeff Morsey, the BEA president. Just wait. I think some of the student reps are going to move.
It's on. Good. Okay. Good evening, Dr. Levy-David and the members of the Bridgeport Board of Education. My name is Jeff Morrissey, and I'm the president of the Bridgeport Education Association, which consists of over 1,300 members. I'm here to address the recently proposed calendar for the 2024-2025 academic year. Over the last few days, I have received a plethora of emails and messages from our members regarding the calendar, where the most common thread of these communications was bewilderment. Furthermore, there are clearly many reasons this proposed calendar also was met with immediate concern. Teachers with young children will need to make arrangements for childcare, seeing how the vacations suggested are misaligned with our surrounding cities and towns. This puts an unnecessary and costly burden on teachers with families. This also creates a demand on those who rely on our customary calendar to visit family, vacation, or just be together at home. I know teachers are also impacted on the earlier start date in August. As we are well aware, a number of our schools do not have adequate ventilation and are not equipped with air conditioning. Although we cannot predict exactly what the temperatures will be, it is certainly not worth a health risk to anyone who will be occupying these buildings. In addition, the movement of the April break back into March could potentially have an effect on anyone who may be looking forward to the warmer weather and wanting to shed those winter blues. March can be a miserable month here in Connecticut, and many of us, teachers, students, parents, and administration, see the April break as an end to winter and the beginning of spring. Time during the April vacation can be spent outside, getting some much-needed vitamin D, where in March, we may potentially still be behind closed doors. The BEA has always, in past practice, had input in the proposed academic calendar. Something as important as this should be approached with camaraderie, thoughtfulness, and patience.
Mr. Morrissey, can you just please wrap up? That was the timer. I thought it was.
Absolutely. I'm asking that the board refrain from moving this new business item forward in order to allow time for meaningful discussion from those who will be most affected. It is my sincere hope that we will be able to get together in a committee along with the other local unions and find common ground on a calendar which serves the best purposes for the Bridgeport Public School family. Thank you.
Thank you. Just as a reminder to the public, you have a total of 2 minutes to discuss any item on the agenda. We're going to move on to the next speaker on the list, which is Ms. Jacqueline, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing it, Colantonio. Colantonio, very close. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Jacqueline Colantonio, a 26-year veteran of Bridgeport Public Schools. 8 million reasons. There are probably 8 million reasons we should not so radically change the school calendar, but the 8 million things we more urgently need to talk about is the agenda item to enter into what adds up to an $8 million contract with Relay. Relay is not a regionally accredited school like Southern or Fairfield U. Any motion to consider the slate of 4 multi-year locked-in contracts with Relay, Hey Tutor, Dreambox Learning Reading Plus, and Hanover Research should be sent back to the instruction committee for rejection or at least reduction to small pilot program status. These contracts over these lock-in years total about $13 million. When we hear good educational theory turned into chanted buzzwords, we know we've taken our eye off the ball. When we hear we are doing this for equity, we should wonder why children in our community of color should be working for these companies during their school time, beta testing these new products that even paid for research studies like the K-12 study on Reading Plus run by a marketing firm in Vermont, which could not show significant improvement from Dreambox's Reading Plus program. If this is equity, why don't Wesley districts want these things for their children? Bridgeport used to provide the best in Connecticut to a diverse population. Central High School was built with a television station, a fully functioning machine and electronics shop, auto shop, music, and theater arts facility. Now we are siphoning tens of millions of dollars out of this community of color to non-regionally accredited, too good to be true, quick and easy training programs like Relay, and virtual learning programs with no research to back up their application and targeted grades, 6 through 12. This appears to be a virtual snake oil instead of the real teachers and real learning our students deserve. The community needs real things. Wrap up your final statement. Yep, not virtual promises from tech startups. When we hear aligning instructional practice, we should know that big data is seeking to get information from our students. Company is owned by Time Warner Cable Company. They're worth $60 billion. I don't know that they need $13 million from Bridgeport. And what does $8 million from Relay get us? Becoming a teacher in 90 days. It sounds too good to be true.
Are you done?
Just one more I want to add at the very end here. If programs like these were the Cadillac of education, we would see schools in wealthy communities purchasing the best for their students. Last I checked, Greenwich, Westport, Fairfield, et cetera, have not. Bridgeport families and students deserve the best. Real curriculum, real teachers, certified by regionally accredited higher education institutions. Real books, and the parents and communities' monies reinvested in the community, not shipped off to giant corporations like Time Warner, Discovery Cable. Thank you.
The next speaker is Hillary Dermott. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Please respect the 2-minute time. I'll ask you to wrap it up. If it goes beyond 30 seconds, I will cut your mic. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Hillary McDevitt, and I've been a teacher in Bridgeport for 15 years. I'm here tonight to share 3 concerns about the calendar for next year that I'd like you to think about as you deliberate. The first is the impact on staff and by extension students, because our state start date and breaks do not align with surrounding districts. We're going to see an increase of call-outs of current staff and a negative impact on teacher recruitment and retention in the district that already has challenging work conditions and lower salaries. My second concern is that it will affect our families. While we still have the same number of instructional days, there are more days throughout the year that we are asking families to consider how they're going to arrange for childcare, with 3 weeks of time off around the holidays. My third concern, and my actual biggest concern, is the impact on instructional quality. The choppy schedule makes it really hard to have continuous learning. As most teachers will tell you, having kids come back from a long weekend, even on a Tuesday, it takes some time to get them back into things. Having routines and effective unit plans over time allows us to be more effective in our teaching and learning. I'm concerned about the number of days off leading to learning loss and off-track things going on in the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Ann Trapasso.
Good evening. My name is Ann Trapasso. I'm a 25-year-old veteran, well, not 25-year veteran of the Bridgeport Public Schools. Tonight, we want to consider how we can transform the lives of BPS students, and it is not by selling out our responsibilities as educators. Critical thinkers always consider context, and this is what I'm asking you to do tonight. When you are being asked to buy 4 or 5 programs, you need to understand that these products are part of the movement to privatize public education, to outsource the critical work of education to private vendors, and to further the discrepancy between the type of schooling that those at urban schools may get versus the true or deep learning that better resource schools may be able to provide. As the salespeople emphasized at the instruction committee meeting on Thursday, they work with many urban districts such as ours. It is our priority to spend about $12.5 million for 3 to 4 year contracts with corporations headed by those without expertise in education. Urban districts with struggling students are being sold these products. Can you imagine one of our neighboring districts purchasing them? Why are we outsourcing these tasks instead of to work to build up the expertise in our district? Draw upon the strengths of those who already know what our students need because they have dedicated themselves to their welfare. Research suggests that among school-related factors, teachers matter most when it comes to student performance on reading and math tests. Teachers are estimated to have 2 to 3 times the effect of any other school factor, including services, facilities, and even leadership. Use this money to hire more teachers of color and reduce class size, as these are established priorities. Do not belittle the—
Wrap up your comment. I'll give you 30 seconds to wrap up.
Do not belittle the district by farming our work out to those employ gig workers to work with our students or who sell no excuse lesson plans. Thank you.
Thank you. This Councilwoman Dasha T. Spell, sorry.
Good evening. I'm here this evening. I was here for a couple of things, but 2 minutes is not enough time to list them. So I'm going to get right to the point. As a representative of the 132nd District, where Bassick High School, Classical Studies Magnet Academy, and Curio are located, I am asking the board and the superintendent, Dr. Levy David, if y'all can do a town hall meeting. Bassick is going to be moved. I asked my colleagues on the school building committee, what is going to happen to the old Bassick in our district? They didn't know because they were told by y'all didn't know. So as you're building this new building on the south end, there needs to be a town hall meeting with the parents and the students in that area so that they know what's going on, the plan, and also as a stakeholder, I want to know what's going to happen to the old Bassick. Also, just to put it out there, as co-chair of Education and Social Services, we're about to head into budget season, and I am going to extend an olive branch to this board as well as the superintendent. City Council and the Board of Ed for decades have not gotten along. We need to work together. These youth behind me just said phenomenal things, but we would never know about it because it's not publicized. So one of the things that I am going to ask you is that with every student that is graduating, I would love to see the report of what schools they got into and how many kids are graduating. Because you come to the city council every year and you ask for money, but we don't get details of what actually goes on. Couldn't help myself, have to go there. We have to communicate. And also for the young people behind me, I would love for y'all to come to a city council meeting and share your experience because we need to invest in you. We can't invest in you if we don't know what you need from us. Thank you.
Kristen Clark.
Good evening, Dr. Levy David and Board of Education members. My name is Kristen Clark. I am a 10-year veteran teacher in the city of Bridgeport. I am also a building representative for the BEA, and I'm speaking on behalf of many of my colleagues at Multicultural Magnet. We have some concerns about the proposed changes on the calendar. The biggest concern that we have is that there has been no opportunity for input by teachers to give meaningful dialogue to drafting such a relevant and important document for our community and for the people who serve in the community. Pardon me. So sorry. The calendar starting on August 19th is extremely early. We have too many buildings that do not have air conditioning and poor ventilation, and many times those buildings will be upwards of 90 degrees, and that is not healthy for anyone. And the summer school and lighthouse sites that are in session during the summer, those buildings, teachers cannot get in to work in those buildings, and teachers have to clean the classrooms. The teachers have to clean those. We have to move the desks. That's an awful lot of extra work for teachers in an additionally shortened period of time. The March and November breaks are inconsistent with other towns. It puts added pressure on our teachers to make decisions as to whether or not there's quality family time or they're working with their job. The more cost for teachers who have young children who require daycare, more stress, in a time where we need to be looking after the mental health and well-being of our teachers as well as our students, we find that it's significantly lacking in thinking about those issues.
Please wrap up your final comment, please.
Teachers also would appreciate it if we could rotate our professional development days so it does not take away instructional time from the same groups of students who have services such as ESL and special education, and have the first 5 days with students and the last 5 days of students be early dismissal days so that we can adequately prepare for either the beginning of the year or the end of the year. And I urge you to think about these considerations prior to your vote.
Thank you. The next speaker is James, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your last name, Mazoros.
Good evening, Superintendent, Chairperson, and board members here and on the web. My name is James Mazaros. I'm president of NAES Local R1200. I'm a 29-year veteran in school security in the Bridgeport Board of Education, also a Board of Education alumni. I'm here to talk about my members, that's 300 plus, regarding the move that's possible to changing the calendar. And on changing the calendar, you know, I always come here and I always use a baseball team about playing together. And my thing, I usually have a package, but I didn't bring a package. But everybody wakes up in the morning, right? And we look in the mirror. And that mirror you can affect someone's life when you make a decision without checking with others. I am a non-certified employee. That's where my union mostly is. And I got this tonight. I'm glad this is here. On page 4 of the superintendent, you have meetings with the unions. I met with labor today and I said to them, can I come and talk to the board and the superintendent that we, the certified personnel unions and the non-certified personnel unions, can meet, discuss things before, again, it's like I tell the mayor, we get the phone calls. We get the frantic phone calls. Oh my God, look what happened. I said, listen, I don't know what you know. I just got it myself. I got an email at 12:59 to make a survey by Sunday. I was home with COVID for a whole week, doing what I have to do as the union president, talking back to my members and telling them, relax. I already sent the emails to the superintendent's office, Ms. Rodriguez, and I sent it to labor to say, slow down, let's meet together and try to solve this not a big problem, but this communications. That's all I'm looking for. I think everybody else that's in the district is looking for. Hopefully from the board and the superintendent, we could get this done. Thank you very much. And it's all for kids.
Next and last speaker is Mary Crocky.
My name is Mary Crocky. I'm a teacher in Bridgeport for 19 years. And the first thing that I would like to say is thank you for letting me address the board. I'm concerned about the programs that are being implemented or planned to be implemented. And I ask you to please hold off on the vote until there's more research done, until we could really find out why these costly programs are, what the purpose of them is, how they can affect and impact our children to the best of their ability. And I'm very, very concerned that we can take those resources that will amount to probably about $13 million, and we could take those resources and instead provide many different things for teachers and students. So I ask you, please, to try to hold off on that vote and make sure that everybody understands the impact of those programs, how it could best benefit our children, because that's all we care about first and foremost is what's best for our children. And that's what we should all think about first in every aspect, no matter what it is. The other thing, of course, that everybody's talking about is the calendar. My biggest concern with the calendar is give kids 2 weeks off for Christmas break and a week off for Thanksgiving. I'm so concerned about how we would academically bring them back up to par. We have such trouble getting kids to focus when they return from any break. And now we're going to give them so much time off in the winter. First of all, who's home with them? Is there anybody home with them? What are they experiencing? How are they going to academically come back to where we need them to be? And then another thing is, how about the traumatic impact that it could have on children? Are we really thinking about what's best for our kids? So I know from my personal experience growing up in Bridgeport, I've had my own issues. We all have. Everybody has obstacles. But I've had situations in my life where I've had something traumatic happen. And then you're talking about going to school, or you're talking about just shrugging it off.
Final comments?
But we have to think about if these kids are traumatized during their breaks and it's extended periods of time, what happens when they return? We talk about the social, emotional well-being of children. Well, let's get it right and do what's emotionally best for our children.
Ma'am.
Emotionally and academically. Thank you very much for letting me address you.
Public comment. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the regular minutes from January 8th, 2024. Are there any comments or edits to the regular meeting minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes, Madam Chair.
Oh, we can get recorded.
Motion to approve the minutes from January 8th.
Motion's been made to approve the minutes by Mr. Sokolovic.
Second.
Please use your microphone so it can be recorded for the record.
Second.
It's been seconded by Mr. Traber. Hearing and seeing no comments, all in favor of the minutes from January 8th, 2024, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Hearing none, minutes pass. The next item on the agenda is the chairman's report. I am going to keep my report very brief. Since our last meeting, I've had some discussion with various community members regarding their opinions on a few of the agenda items. I believe it is our job as a Board of Education to build positive community partnership, and that includes communication with all of Bridgeport. Also, I had the opportunity to visit some facilities, and I look forward to continuing building relationships with all our building leaders and our scholars. And that's all I have for my chairman's report. The next item on the agenda is committee reports and referrals. The first committee on the agenda is Facilities and Finance, that is led by Madam Vice Chair Akisha Casimir.
Hello. The Facilities and Finance Committee meeting is normally on the third Monday of every month. In February, it will be a different date because of the holidays that are coming up. So the very first Facilities and Finance Committee meeting will be on Monday, February 5th at 6 o'clock here in City Hall, room 305.
Are there any referrals to committee?
Yes, Madam Chair. I'm concerned with our timeline. We have a presentation of the budget at this, basically by this very time, and the budget is due in munis, I believe, by the 9th, if I'm not mistaken. Ms. Siegel, maybe you can answer that. I'm concerned we're running up against the timeline where the city is starting their budget process and we don't even have our budget presented to us on the committee level. I think it's very imperative that we move quickly to get the president presentation, because I would not want to see a budget presented to the city council that the Board of Education did not approve.
Thank you. The next item is the next committee report is for Instruction and Support Services. Yes.
Yeah, are we not going to address that, or is that irrelevant?
It's a referral to committee that, thank you. The next committee is Instruction and Support Services Committee. That's led by Madam Secretary Jennifer Perez.
The Instruction and Support Services Committee met last Thursday, January 18th. We discussed some of the items on this agenda for the contracts that are coming up. And then we also had a discussion about the draft of the calendar. I asked to refer it to the board so we can get some public comments. So thank you for those who came out for the comments on that. And then the last thing on the agenda was an update on the kindergarten enrollment for next year. So I know we're going to hear a little bit about that today. And kind of our plans for the kindergarten enrollment. Our next meeting will be February 20th at 6 p.m. Location to be determined.
Any referrals to this committee?
Just a reminder, the two I previously referred to.
Speak up. Press the button.
Yeah, just the two I previously referred. You still got those in mind, Spurs? Oh, you got to hold it.
Don't hold it. Just let it blink.
There you go.
Okay.
It's just my two previous regarding school, switch of high school start times possibly being discovered and, I don't recall it right off the top of my head.
SPED.
Thank you, special education report. Thank you.
Okay. Hearing any others, seeing no other hands up, we'll move on to the next item. That's Policy, Personnel, and Contracts Committee. The Policy, Personnel, and Contracts Committee met on January 9th, 2024. We have a presentation pretty much for the majority of the action items presented on today's new business items. I'm going to touch on each item that was voted on in committee. And I like to say that we are bringing forward national research-based programs with a track record of growth and positive outcomes to help with the failing schools in our district. Relay Graduate School of Education is a national program that prepares teachers and leaders. It has a reputation of strong teacher development. This program is aligned with our district's strategic plan of building teacher capacity, Tier 1 instruction, and culturally relevant teaching. It engaged in district's instructional leadership practice and introduced an instruction framework to improve Tier 1 instruction. There are several case studies that demonstrate participation in Relay will yield our district positive results. Relay has worked with DC public schools, New York City public schools, and Philadelphia public schools. Participation in Relay in those districts resulted in a cohort seeing growth in ELA and math proficiencies. That will come on later on in report. The committee voted in favor of this item to be presented to the full board, and I believe Mr. Tim Maines will be here to present on it. The next item that's going to be going forward to the full board today is Hanover Research. Again, another national research-based education support forum that would assist Bridgeport Public Schools in planning and assessing the progress of implementation of the strategic goal. Again, aligned with the history and our district being among the bottom 5 in the state. We need qualitative feedback to include in-depth surveys and focus groups. Hanover will look at Bridgeport as an entire system, including areas like teacher recruitment, retention, special education, and other instructional systems. This is distinctly different from the work from Relay. Most importantly, an instructional audit of the macro level instructional practices and teachers' efficacies with the big goal of identifying across the district if there is a systemized way teachers are approaching instruction. Again, Hanover has worked with cities including Stamford, Connecticut, Norwalk, Connecticut, West Hartford, Connecticut, and similar sized diverse districts in New York like Syracuse. Hanover would also help with benchmarking different outcomes. And Ms. Howe and I believe the team from Hanover will be here to provide an executive presentation and take questions. Again, the committee voted in favorably of this and presents it to the full board. The third item is Hey Tutor, that will be presented to the full board. Again, it passed favorably in committee. Is a national tutoring program in business for 10 years that's worked with similar school districts in terms of diversity, size, and need, like Los Angeles, California School District, which is the second largest district in the country. This year we won a grant. The grant is limited to 2 schools. We will have it at Geraldine Johnson and Fairchild Johnson due to the high number of bilingual learners and the SPED population. And we'll also introduce it at Fairchild, our inter-district magnet school, as it is only producing outcomes to the same level as Central. This program is going to be offered 4 days a week, 20 to 30 minutes during our win block, which is what I need. And it will also present actual certified teachers, perform diagnostics that's made available to the district's administrators, and personalized learning plans. The director, Mr. Ming, as well as our director of math, Mr. Planas, will be here to present any questions. The fourth item that will also be presented on the agenda is Dreambox. Again, another national and powerful tool that is adjustable to the user that performs assessments, therefore lightening the load off of teachers from constantly assessing our scholars. Currently, our license with Khan Academy is expiring. While this program is reputable, Khan Academy is not aligned with the aspects of our strategic goal, as well as helping with teacher capacity. It's very linear and does not have the conceptual understandings that's presented in Dreambox. We have scholars here today from some of our districts that's utilized Dreambox, and I'm going to recommend to the board that since we have middle school students here, that we amend our agenda to have Dreambox presented first so the students can present earlier and be able to go to bed earlier. But back to the actual topic, it's a computer-based math program aimed at accelerating growth for scholars in math. It does the assessments, it generates, it has actionable data, and provides insights to teachers, again, lightening the load. One study found that Dreambox, used for an hour a week, grew about 58% more than peers who did not have access to Dreambox. As such, with such results, it was voted favorably in committee. Also, just again, students from Discovery are here, but it's also been used at Johnson and Multicultural. And also, we received a corporate sponsorship, making this as well as another reading program we use available. Mr. Hartley from Dreambox, I believe, is available, as well as Mr. Planas. The next item that's going to be presented to the full board that passed that committee, I received multiple phone calls and taking that into consideration regarding the hiring procedure for certified staff. And while this item passed that committee, I would hope that the full board would refer it back for additional consideration for feedback and input. So when that comes before the board, I hope that you will take the suggestion to refer it back to committee for a later date is taken into a vote. And that concludes the Policy, Personnel, and Contracts Committee. Are there any referrals to committee? Mr. Traber.
Yes, Madam Chair. The last meeting, I referred to committee a request for information about hiring over the last 6 months. Now we renew that request. All hiring, resignations, terminations, a complete list of data in anticipation of the budget and preparing for the budget.
If you could send that via email, just so that way it's already there, just to prevent any kind of.
Happy to.
Thank you. Any other referrals to committee?
Just my standing one for the 5-year contract expirations and another one I'll send it to you.
If you could do the same, just make sure you send it via email. Thank you.
And I had one other, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I had renewed, if you recall, in the fall about the contract that we signed with the university school. I clarified my mistake in an earlier meeting that what I had been looking for was the desk space that we were using per week in the past years. So I will put that in writing too.
Thank you. Okay. The next report is a CAPE report. In terms of the CAPE report, today I attended a chairman meeting. One of the most interesting takeaways, and I believe it was brought up during public comment by our city councilwoman, is effective partnership with the city and state delegation. I've learned from other successful districts that they have, for example, like in Madison, they have a tri-chair meeting with the board, mayor, and director of finance for an aligned mission as well as budget. Hopefully something like that can be replicated in Bridgeport, as well as continue to extend communication towards the needs of a district financially. On the 24th, I'll just remind the board again that there's the board's role in advocacy webinar. It's free to board members to sign up, and it's at 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then also, we will also have our board CAPE retreat. I will make sure once that's posted and we're all in compliance, more information will be sent to board via email. That concludes the CAPE report. The next item on the agenda,
Madam Chair.
there's no referrals to CABE.
No, you don't say when you're gonna be your next meeting?
Oh, thank you for pointing that out, Mr. Benningham. The Policy, Personnel, and Contracts Committee meet on the second Tuesday. However, I need to meet with committee members to find a day that aligns because that's our next regular board meeting. So once there's an actual date, I will be sure to share it with committee members and the rest of the board too. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report, and she will be presenting her 100-day report in the district. Dr. Kamala Levy-David.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. Are we good to go, Sam? Thank you. It has been my pleasure to be part of this community for, I believe the 100 days was actually January 12th. So we're a little bit past the 100 days, but it has truly been a pleasure to be part of this community for that amount of time, and I am incredibly grateful for the opportunity to not only be a member of this community, but to have the opportunity to make a significant impact on the experiences of our students, our families, and all of the wonderful professionals that call Bridgeport home. I have learned a tremendous amount about this community, about our students, about their dreams, from our parents, about their goals and aspirations for their children, and also about the incredible and rich history of Bridgeport, Connecticut since my arrival. And it has been truly heartwarming to have had the opportunity to work with so many different members of this incredible community, to learn more about it and to be able to have the opportunity to listen and also to begin the process of dreaming together. The theme for this year has been Rising Together. Upon my arrival, and even prior to that, I did a great deal of research on what the current state of this district was. And to be quite frank, I found most of what I was able to glean very daunting. It is not, the task of being superintendent of this district is not a task for someone who lacks courage or is afraid of change and transformation, or has not spent a considerable amount of time preparing and also applying much of what has been learned in leadership. This is a very complex school district with a lot of complex and constantly moving parts, and with a segment of the population that has been underserved for the past 20 years. That includes our students of color. It includes our students who are newcomers. It includes our students with special needs. And it includes all of our students who may be economically disadvantaged in this community. In learning that, I also took the opportunity to look at our performance over the past 20 years. And one of the very difficult things to see was the lack of continuity over the last 20 years in leadership in this learning community, and how that has had a negative impact on the progress, the growth, and the ultimate success of the students that call this district home. There are members of our community that have and actually avail themselves of the advantages of being able to choose private schooling for their students. But for the majority of the members of this community, private schooling is out of reach. And so we have a responsibility, a promise that we make to every student that enters our school system, whether it's in pre-K or whether it's in kinder, to take them by the hand and to guide them through every single year successfully until the ultimate culmination of that education with 12th grade graduation, and with the ability, with the confidence, and with the stability to make decisions about what their ultimate future is going to entail, whether that is post-secondary education or the preparation to actually go from school to work and to be able to do so in a way that supports changing their families within one generation. I've had the opportunity to speak to many prior generations of graduates of Bridgeport Public Schools who expressed frustration, who expressed anger, who expressed disappointment over the lack of change that they see for their children in this district. And my task as a superintendent is to not only transform that experience, transform their perspectives, but to win back their trust. And to do so by ensuring that we are planning, implementing, and ultimately executing the best possible curriculum, tier 1 curriculum, rigorous curriculum, that allows students to be able to be on grade level and reading proficiently before grade 3. Because to say that they're going to do it by grade 3 is actually beneath current expectations. And to say that they are going to be prepared to pass the state assessment is not to say that they're going to be successful, as the state assessment is written at an 8th grade level of proficiency. So it's not an assessment that necessarily indicates their readiness for college. My interest is in ensuring that our students are performing far and above what the state assessment expects them to do. The best case scenario is for our students to be bored and constantly demanding more from us academically. That's the best case scenario. For them to be struggling with grade level curriculum that is not being taught at tier 1 is not what we want to see from our students. And so based on the conversations that I've had with families, with past graduates, with teachers in the system, with students that are currently in the system who are very articulate about what their experience has been in Bridgeport, I've identified 3 very basic district priorities. The first is to build teacher capacity. And that is something that we can only do by attracting, recruiting, and retaining our talent. The constant turnover of teacher staff hurts the ability of our students to grow, to thrive, and to ultimately be successful. I am encouraged and very positively motivated by the most recent contract negotiation, where we demonstrated that we're taking seriously the need to ensure that we're providing our teachers with a living wage, but we can do better. And I intend for us to do better. The second priority is culturally responsive instruction. And I know that not everyone understands what culturally responsive instruction is, but I'll give you an example. For students who speak languages other than English, the ability to have context with what is being taught and with basic conversations is difficult without a high level of language acquisition and vocabulary acquisition. Culturally responsive instruction is not limited to sheltered instruction. It also has to include instruction where students are valued, where they have examples of success that look like them, and where their cultural background and home background is celebrated and heightened in the classroom. I've visited a lot of classrooms. And while I know that some of us work really, really hard to ensure that we're being culturally responsive, it is not the norm in Bridgeport. And it is something that we need to work on in order to have our students feel valued every single day that they walk through a building and through a classroom. And finally, the other priority, the third priority, is guaranteeing tier 1 instruction with our students while closing the gaps. The fact that students have moved to another grade does not lessen our responsibility to ensure that if they did not achieve mastery in that grade, that we continue to support them until they do. It is no longer okay to promote students despite not having mastered basic skills, despite not having proficiency in reading and math, and despite not having confidence in their ability to be successful learners. And those are 3 pieces that I think are key to our ability to redesign instruction that is student-friendly, that puts their needs first, and that supports our teachers in having the capacity to deliver that learning to our students. And that capacity is not limited to teachers who've been teaching 20+ years or 2 years. It is something that we continuously as educators have to do. The one thing that educators never stop doing is learning, adjusting, improving, and adding to our toolkit. Every single teacher knows that it's so incredibly necessary to evolve as our students evolve. And our students have evolved at a very rapid rate in the past 5 years. The COVID pandemic has heightened the need to really emphasize social emotional learning. Feelings matter. Confidence matters. Emotional support, empathy matters. How we treat our students, our ability to make them feel welcome, make them feel loved, make them feel valued, our ability to greet them with a smile, a handshake, or a hug, all of those pieces matter. All of those pieces are what make our students want to come back the next day to our classrooms. And those are the pieces that I would love for us to be able to focus on and to ensure that they're a daily part of our practices in Bridgeport Public Schools. Some of our teachers have already implemented these changes, and they're doing a phenomenal job of making their students feel loved and valued. But I can't say with confidence that that is happening in every classroom. And I intend to continue fighting until it is happening in every single classroom across this district. That is my charge, and that is the reason that I accepted the challenge of coming to Bridgeport Public Schools. In addition to the instructional priorities, I've also identified several organizational priorities, and I call them organizational priorities because they impact not only the district as a whole, but our entire community, the entire city of Bridgeport. Special education is an area that requires urgent and immediate attention. We have students who have learning differences from neurodivergence to physical challenges. And we have to meet those challenges head on, and we have a responsibility to ensure that they are also equipped to be successful in schools and after they graduate from our schools. Again, I've had the opportunity to meet with graduates of our district who were not provided those opportunities as students and now have children in our system with similar challenges. One of the most powerful things that we can do as a community is ensure that not one single child leaves our schools unequipped and unprepared to be successful, no matter what their learning difference is. Inclusive classrooms are not just a necessity, they're an imperative. Special education should not be a life sentence for any student in Bridgeport Public Schools. If students are identified with a learning difference, it is our responsibility to ensure that we do not quit until we're able to meet their needs. Their parents don't quit, and we cannot quit. We have to ensure that we are providing them with every available opportunity to be part of an inclusive learning environment and not delegated to out-of-district placements. That is an area where we intend to ensure that we are transforming the way we do business in Bridgeport starting today. The next organizational priority for Bridgeport Public Schools is early childhood. Early learners are all unique and gifted in their own special way, and they're capable of doing so much more than what we imagine or expect from them each and every day. The research on cognitive development, the research on executive functions that help students to be successful in the following 12 grades of education is resounding and deafening in its definition of students being capable of much more than what we expect from them in the early grades. Building teacher capacity includes ensuring that every single early learner is challenged, that they have Classrooms where they can actually learn to do more. Classrooms where it is not in doubt that they can be readers in first grade. Classrooms where they're able to develop their analytical skills, decision-making skills, communication skills. In classrooms where they're able to learn the inhibitory control measures needed to be successful in all learning environments. Early learners are capable of doing that, and I want to ensure that we're providing them every opportunity to do so. The final organizational priority is sheltered instruction. We have over 47 different languages spoken in the city of Bridgeport. Every single time that I walk into a classroom, I am able to pinpoint any student who is not an English speaker because I'm an immigrant myself and English is my second language. And so that look of trepidation, that look of fear, that lack of confidence, I know it very well. I'm very familiar with it. I know exactly what it is to sit in a classroom without understanding what is being said, without feeling confident in raising your hand and asking for help, without having a peer who can be a buddy, who can be a resource, who can be a lunch buddy so that you're not sitting alone. I know what that is. I know what that feels like. And I spot it every single time that I walk through our hallways and our classrooms and our schools. We have to do a better job of supporting every single student, including our newcomers, whether they're here in kinder or they arrive in the 11th grade. We have a responsibility to give them the best possible start and the best possible way to connect themselves into what it is to be successful in the American educational system. These priorities are not priorities for today. They're not priorities for the next year. They're priorities for the next 36 months. 3 years. We need 3 years in order to begin building routines that eliminate the habits of the past that have not served our students well. We need 3 years in order to embrace new learning, in order to embrace new research, in order to embrace new practices, in order to implement effective curriculum. The work that needs to happen in Bridgeport, it is not something that's going to be done overnight. It is not a cure that you can implement within 90 days. We cannot train a teacher to be an effective teacher in 90 days. It takes a minimum of 3 years for a brand new teacher to feel competent, not only in their classroom, but in their subject. And it requires having senior teachers that can welcome, warmly support them, mentor them, and show them the way, which is why it's so critical for us to retain our talent here in the district. When one teacher retires, we lose a collective base of knowledge that we cannot replace. And our new teachers are not able to avail themselves of that knowledge and of that expertise. And so it is very necessary to ensure that we can begin taking Bridgeport off of all of these various turnaround terms that are listed in our state education department. I would love to be able to say that within 5 to 10 years, Bridgeport will no longer be an alliance district. I would love to be able to say that within 5 to 10 years, Bridgeport will no longer need to be part of the commissioner's network. It would please me no end to be able to say that we don't have focus schools in Bridgeport. I would be overjoyed to be able to say out loud that Bridgeport is not an opportunity district. Those are the 10 lowest performing districts in the state of Connecticut, and we are 4th from the bottom. That's where we are right now. I would really be happy to be able to say that we no longer need school improvement grants in Bridgeport. And last but not least, I would love, and I would consider it a success, to know that we no longer have turnaround schools in Bridgeport Public Schools. We have 9 of them at the moment. Those are the schools that are the 5% lowest in performance in the state of Connecticut. So to say that we are in a place where we don't need new technologies, where we don't need new research-based strategies, where we don't need the help of organizations such as the ones that have been presented would be mistaken. We need all the help we can get. We need to move away from brain pop. We need to move away from using technologies that are not adaptive, that do not adjust based on our students' level of acquisition, that cannot measure without giving students an assessment, but that provide more normative assessments every single time a student logs in to assess where they are and individualize the teaching to match what the student needs. Technology is not our enemy. Technology is our friend. Technology will never replace a teacher, but it certainly can support our students in continuing their learning and their practices when they're away from us during breaks, when they're away from us on weekends, and when they're away from us in the summer. It can be a very useful tool for students when they're ill, when they need homebound services, when they're expelled for behavioral mishaps, and when they have any challenges that prevent them from being in the regular classroom. And we know that we have students who experience these challenges in our community. So I want us to maintain an open mind for the things that are available. Even if we're not familiar with them, we need to learn about them. We need to be open in our thinking, open in our mindsets, and open in our willingness to try new things, even when they're scary, even when they're unfamiliar, because we owe it to our students. We've made a promise. We've made a promise to get them through 12th grade and beyond. Spent a great deal of time meeting with students. The reason why we're all here tonight is because of students. If you're here for any other reason, then you're in the wrong meeting. The reason why we're all here tonight is because we all care about students. We all care about their progress, their success, their ability to be independent, their ability to be the next generation. As we age, we're going to rely on this generation to take care of us. And the investments that we make today will determine the level of care that we're able to receive from them later. And I'm not being facetious in saying that. We are judged by the quality of education that we provide to our students. And I'm sorry to say that in Bridgeport, we have been found lacking. It is time for us to turn it around. It is time for us to meet our commitments to students. It is time for us to work together on one accord with one voice in order to meet their needs. As the superintendent, that is the charge that I have accepted. As members of this organization, I hope that you've accepted a similar charge and that we'll be able to work together toward a common goal for all of our students, whether they be white, whether they be Black, whether they be Latino, whether they be Asian, no matter what background, what economic background, what zip code, they all deserve to have the very best from us. During the first 100 days, I spent a great deal of time assessing where we were as a district, holding those critical conversations, and meeting with experts all over the state of Connecticut in order to assess how to best move this district forward. We've reintroduced literacy and math directors in the district. We're going to reintroduce instructional coaches and executive coaches who will be working with not only our central office staff, but our district and campus administrators, and also our teachers at the classroom level. Those interventions are critical to moving us forward as a district and to meeting our responsibility to every single student who is enrolled in Bridgeport Public Schools. We've also began the process of revitalizing our magnet programs. I was shocked to find that we were losing enrollment in our magnet programs. Those are the hallmark programs of this district. We attract students from other districts to those programs. But our students in Bridgeport remain the smallest number of students enrolled in those magnet programs. Yes, I want you to pause when I say that. When we have students from surrounding districts who outnumber our students 3 to 1 in our magnet programs, we really have to examine what it is that we are doing in all of our schools and why our students are not availing themselves of the opportunity to attend our very fine magnet programs in the district. Our goal should be to have a waiting list of students across our districts that then motivates us to open more magnet programs. The students that participate in those programs are going to be the leaders of the 21st century. They're doing very interesting work and very interesting research, challenging research. And as you've heard from many of them tonight, who are also part of our student board representatives, they're very committed. They're very committed to their success, and they're very committed to positive, engaging leadership. And I'm proud of them. Communication has been another very, very critical piece of this transition. I have met with just about, well, I can't say everybody, but I can tell you that I've met with a lot of people. The meetings have been never ending. Why? Because I want to ensure that we have access to as many resources as we can avail ourselves of in this community. I want to include our university leaders. I want to include our community leaders, our elected officials, business partners that are here that have been wanting to find ways to partner in the district. I've spent a great deal of time having very critical conversations with them and hearing their desire to help and support the work that we're doing with students in their businesses. I'm committed to continue that work, and I'm committed to continuing the process of engaging more of them in our district. We are continuously working to redesign how we share information. We'll be launching a brand new website fairly soon. We'll be using a variety of ways to engage with our community. Your voices were heard with your thoughts on the calendar. Your voices were heard. Overwhelming feedback from all members of the community that took the survey, and I want to thank you for that. Because as a result of that feedback, I will not be moving forward with that calendar recommendation. And that is what effective communication does. When I hear from the community, when I hear from teachers, when I hear from business partners, when I hear from those who have children in other districts, it is my responsibility to ensure that I'm listening and that I'm able to take action on that feedback. We've embraced social media platforms to ensure that we continue to maintain you informed. And we've also initiated a listening tour in order to continue to gather stakeholder feedback. And those will continue throughout the remainder of this year. Partnerships will forever remain one of the most powerful things that we can actually take advantage of in this community. There's so many organizations that want to be part of the work that we do, that want to be part of helping us to fulfill that promise. They want to be part of supporting us with our students, supporting us with our teachers, supporting us with all of the resources that may be lacking in our classrooms and ensuring that those are readily available for everyone. And we want to ensure that we continue to embrace their partnership, continue to engage in gaining more scholarships for our students, and continue to engage in gaining opportunities for our students who may be undocumented, but are excelling and graduating and want to go to college, but may not have the documentation to do so. We want to be able to serve every single segment of our students in this community. I'm really proud of the partnerships that we've built over the past 100 days and of the corporations that continue to reach out every single day in order to secure their ability to collaborate with us in student learning. And I am really proud of the work that we're doing with organizations like the Cal Ripken Foundation. They have invested heavily in our city, not only in providing recreational spaces for our students, but also investing in STEM learning in collaboration with Hall House. And so I want to make sure that we continue, along with the Allen Wallach Foundation, to build those partnerships throughout the city of Bridgeport. I continue to meet with university leaders across the state of Connecticut and beyond. And I continue to work with local officials in the launch of the Bridgeport Promise. The Bridgeport Promise should be launching no later than the fall of 2024. And I'm really excited about the opportunity to ensure that our students are able to have seed money to begin their educational journey, and also constant contact with city level employees that will ensure that they have the support they need when they're in school. Not just the social emotional learning, but also the financial support that they will need as they go through their college education. And I also want to thank those superintendents that have reached out in order to lend assistance, advice, feedback, and partnership in this work. It's very lonely at the top, but I can tell you that with their support, I have not felt alone a single day in this job. Over the past few months, the ability to have Q&As with teachers, the ability to have administrative councils with principals, and the ability to meet with our classified staff has been extremely rewarding. I really welcome those opportunities, and I plan to continue with those opportunities in the years to come, because I learn a lot every time I get to spend time with members of our learning community. I learn a lot. So please do not hesitate to continue to send me those emails, those messages, and to share your thoughts with me when we meet one-on-one. Finally, as we look at the organization itself, there is a great need to ensure that we have the right people on every seat on the bus in order to do this work. This is not a task that can be completed by a handful of people in central office or a handful of people at the campus level. The effort to completely turn around this district is going to be many years of labor, and it's going to require the collective knowledge of many different professionals. And I'm committed to continuing to recruit those professionals to do the work, to support one another, and to ensure that we stay on track. One of the pieces that I'm very committed to is the reestablishment of the arts in Bridgeport Public Schools. The arts is a really critical component of student learning. It is a way for them to continue to develop their social emotional learning. It's a way for them to develop other passions. And for a lot of our students, it is one of the main connectors to keep them engaged in school. We plan to reintroduce the arts in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade levels so that our students are able to access things like band, theater, fine arts, visual arts, communications, speech and debate. We want those to be true high school preparatory electives. We want those to be true experiences for our students not something that is relegated to an after-school activity. Our students deserve to have high school and college preparatory curriculum beginning in the middle grades. And we will begin reforming those offerings for our students immediately. Over the past 100 days, I have committed to being present in our schools. I have visited some schools more than others. Don't take that personally. If I haven't been to your school yet, I will be there soon. I've participated in more than 50 stakeholder meetings, and I will continue to do so during my tenure as superintendent. That will not be a year one event. I have attended 59 different events representing the city of Bridgeport and Bridgeport Public Schools, and I will continue to do so. And I have met multiple times with the media, sometimes for positive pieces and sometimes just to talk about exactly what is happening in our school district. And I will continue to do that as well. The more that we're able to communicate the work that is happening in Bridgeport and the work that needs to occur in Bridgeport, the better we will be able to spread the word about why Bridgeport is the right choice for every student in the city of Bridgeport and beyond. I want to make sure that those students that are taking advantage of our magnet programs eventually also choose to see Bridgeport as their school home. We have so many gifted children, so many unique children, so many amazing students, beautiful students who have so much to offer and are demanding that we give them more. And my responsibility as superintendent is ensuring that we do precisely that. So I'm committed to that process. I'm committed to doing that work. And I'm committed to working with our school board to ensure that it happens. I want to talk about solutions. We all know what the challenges are. We all know that we need more funding, but we also have to be more careful guardians of the resources that have been allocated to us in this district. And we have not done a very good job of being stewards of the resources we already have. So if we're going to ask state officials, elected officials, our school commissioner, our state commissioner of education to invest in Bridgeport, we have to show ourselves worthy of that investment through the decisions that we make today and the decisions that we make moving forward for our students. We have to show that we are serious about change, that we are serious about no longer being a commissioner's network school, no longer being at the bottom of any list in the state of Connecticut, and that we are committed to ensuring that our students are able to shine in every aspect of their learning with all of their unique talents from the time they enter our schools until the time they graduate. We have to be committed to increasing our graduation rate and our college enrollment rate, not just for students who may be in magnet programs or taking advanced placement courses, but through the implementation of early college and dual credit courses that will save our parents money. Through our investments in ensuring that teachers who are in our schools that are most challenged actually receive hazard pay for committing to being in those schools. We have to commit to being innovative in the way that we address the challenges that we face in Bridgeport Public Schools. And we have to commit to telling the truth about our condition, telling the truth, and ensuring that in doing so, we're also developing solutions and that we're not only collaborating effectively and positively, but that we're doing so in ways that benefit our students. Every single moment that we spend in this chamber or in any other room discussing the business of the school district should be about students, should be about their future, should be about their achievement. I'm about the kids' business. I am about the kids' business. That is my priority. I'll leave politics to other people. I did not take this job in order to do politics. But I am about the kids' business and I'm serious about it. And I want everybody who is seriously engaged and committed in ensuring that our students have a better future to continue to step forward courageously and support us in that endeavor. I want to thank all of you for listening. I want to thank all of you for your continual efforts to build unity across our district. Unity should be our focus. How do we work better together? How do we engage and bring commitment, bring compromise, bring communication, bring collective effort, bring self-reliance to this district? We should not be reliant on handouts from any organization unless we're willing to be good stewards of the resources we already have. I am committed to that work. If you're committed, I'm here for you. Thank you.
I'll open up the floor to any board members with questions or comments. Mr. Sokolovic.
Yes, a couple of questions and but clarification. We spoke of our magnet schools being 3-to-1 Bridgeport students. Is this all? 3-to-1 Bridgeport students?
Wait, don't touch.
There you go. We spoke of the magnet schools being 3-to-1 Bridgeport students and that somehow being reflective on Bridgeport. State statute for our inter-district magnet schools only allows 1 student for every three students for every, get that backwards. 3 out-of-district students for 1 Bridgeport student. So we got to be in compliance with the state statute that allows for that. I do not like that. I wish more of our students would be able to take advantage of our magnet schools, but state law does not allow that. State law will only provide that excellent education if we get, for 3 of our students, if we get 1 white suburban student in our school. So that's really an atrocious setup. I mean, our schools should all be funded at the level, not just because a white suburban student is going there. And that's just to make sure it's not that our students don't want to go. They cannot go because we would be out of compliance and we would lose funding. And the next thing I want to address is, you mentioned hazard pay for our most challenged schools. What would be the hazards we're talking about?
Anytime our teachers have to work in am I on?
Turn yours off. There you go.
Anytime our teachers have to work in schools where students don't come to school, where students are failing at exorbitant rates, where students don't feel safe, where fights happen on a daily basis, where teachers maybe don't feel safe. They're experiencing hazards. They're experiencing barriers. Maybe you don't like the word hazard, Mr. Sokolovic, but I'm sorry. Whenever a teacher works in a really, really challenging environment, I think that we should be able to compensate them for that time. We should be able to not only provide them with safer environments and our students with safer environments, but we should invest more money in those particular schools to ensure that our students have the opportunities to be successful.
Okay, I'll open. Thank you, Mr. Benahan.
Yes, yes, I do take umbrage with the word hazard when it refers to our students. Some students are not hazards, or students are, and I'm not opposed to raising teacher salaries and giving teachers better benefits, but the place to do that is in negotiations. We just sealed the contract with the teachers. I love the teachers. We definitely need to pay them more. I don't dispute that, but contract negotiations are over. We should not be negotiating contracts from the floor by offering perks that they didn't even ask for. That's all I got.
Can I respond to that?
Yes, Dr. Levy David.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but I disagree with that. I think that if a teacher commits to coming to Bassett High School, which hasn't met standards in 10 years, they're taking a risk. They're taking a huge risk on our kids. They're taking a huge risk with their reputations, with their experience, because they're going to have to work so much harder with all of the learning, with all of the programming, and all of the different pieces that we will have to put together in order to ensure that Bassett, which is our oldest high school, if I'm not mistaken, is able to finally meet standards. That's going to be a years-long process. That's going to require a completely different level of effort, which only an educator could understand. I have been a turnaround principal. I have been a teacher in turnaround campuses. The work does not stop at 3:30. The work continues well after and into the weekend, and sometimes 7 days a week. Turning around a school can easily become a lifestyle. And for teachers who choose to work in that environment, I see nothing wrong with providing them with additional pay in order to compensate them, whether they choose to use that money to make their classrooms more welcoming environments, whether they choose to use that money to go to Cancun. Whatever it takes to ensure that those teachers, the best teachers, are going to come to those turnaround campuses, I think that we should be looking at those options.
Ms. Casimir?
Thank you for that report, Dr. Levy David. I just want to first and foremost say that how much fun I'm having going around and visiting the schools. I did Beardsley, Bassett, and Barnum today, and I didn't expect the overly warm welcome from the principals just because of the history of board members and the last, or superintendents that they have mentioned. But I just wanted to say thank you to those principals for taking out their time. And I know that there are board members here that have been here for years. And if you haven't gone to visit the schools, please go, because I know that it helps put all of this back into perspective for me. Just sitting down with the staff and looking at the students, is a great thing. It helps me keep pushing on this board. It gives me a reason to be here just constantly. And so I just wanted to say that first and foremost. Thank you for the welcome, for the warm welcome to the principals. I do have a question. When you talk about tier 1 instruction, can you just break that down for me? What does that mean?
Thank you, Ms. Kessler. Tier 1 instruction is instruction that is able to not only support our students' proximal development. So there's where our students are in their learning, and there's where we want them to get. The in-between is the zone of proximal development. It's what we're hoping to be able to heighten with our students in order to get them to mastery. Tier 1 instruction should be what every student receives. And when Tier 1 instruction isn't effective, then we scaffold to see where it is that they have a gap that we may need to fill in order to get them to meet that zone of proximal development. What often happens, especially in turnaround settings, is that students begin receiving either Tier 2 or Tier 3 instruction, which is not actually stretching their zone of proximal development, but it's reviewing and rehashing learning that has already occurred. And so what we want is to ensure that every single student is guaranteed Tier 1 instruction first, along with scaffolding to close any gaps that they may have after.
Okay, thank you. Sheltered instruction, can you please just explain a little bit more about what that means?
Wait, just one time.
Sheltered instruction is a strategy to support learners of other languages. And there are many different types of strategies. They come under different names. The most popular is SIOP, which is the Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol. And what it does, it provides the teacher with strategies that they can use to support a learner who may have a second language as their primary language to be able to engage in the learning in the classroom and not feel excluded, to be able to participate in the learning in the classroom and not feel excluded, to be able to have access to the learning that is occurring in the classroom rather than being taken aside or pulled out of the class in order to experience learning. And sheltered instruction is something that is common in many places where students speak other languages, but it's not something that we have implemented across this district. We rely right now on a pull-out model of support for our students. If they speak other languages, they're removed from the Tier 1 instruction classroom, then they're given an intervention, and then they're brought back. What sheltered instruction does, it allows the student to continue to learn with their age level peers in the classroom while the teacher uses those strategies in order to implement Tier 1 instruction with those students.
And my last question to you is, or actually it's more of a comment that, as we're rebuilding special ed and being creative about what we are adding or taking away, I still feel very strongly about having a connection to the probate court judge or the probate court staff for those students who are going to be graduating out of the system that are special ed students. Parents need to understand that if they want to advocate on behalf of their student after they graduate, they have to go to probate court and apply for guardianship. And there are two different guardianships. There's plenary, which covers everything, and then maybe there's another like half guardianship. That's not the name of it, but that, it doesn't cover everything. It only covers certain aspects of after their child leaves. And just one more thing is that there's a difference between guardianship and conservatorship. So parents need to understand that once they do achieve guardianship of their students after they leave here, that if they want to help out with finances and things like that, they have to get a conservatorship too. And this is something that I learned the hard way, so I just want to share with everybody. And that's all I have.
Ms. Casimir, I appreciate you sharing that because it's really powerful information for our parents to have. One of the pieces of special ed reform in the district that we are going to implement is ensuring that we're providing a lot of information and a lot of education to our parents regarding their rights, regarding the resources that are available, regarding the transition services that are available to students once they complete their secondary education, and also regarding the process of not only meeting their needs in the classroom, but supporting them with their transition toward the inclusion classroom, which will be the move that we'll be making. This is the process that we'll be making in Bridgeport. Moving students from the self-contained special education classroom as much as possible to inclusion so that they can actually be in their least restrictive environment. For many, many years, we have maintained our students in the most restrictive environment, period. And that is simply not good for kids, and it is not what we will continue to do. So thank you so much for bringing that up.
Thank you.
Mr. Traber. 1 second. Okay. Sorry. No, that's okay.
Keep pushing, so there it goes. I just have a simple question. When we were at the Cape Caps convention in the fall, at the workshop that we all attended together, where they had a panel of the presidents of the two organizations and the directors of the two organizations, it was asked that normally at a board meeting, we get the superintendent's report. And your report was so full of information that I just couldn't keep up with it all. So I just wondered if we could get a copy of what you just reported.
Absolutely.
And two, what they said was that normally we would get that in advance. So we could look at it in advance and therefore be prepared to ask questions. So I just wondered if in the past we have got superintendent reports in advance, if we could get your report with me. So I just wanted to ask those two things.
Thank you, Mr. Traver. I will do my very best to ensure that you're able to get reports in advance moving forward. This particular report was literally one that I had to give a lot of thought and consideration to, and there were some pieces that I actually decided to modify as I was going through it this weekend. So that's why you were able to get it ahead of time. But I will definitely do my best to ensure that you're able to get those reports ahead of time.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing.
Actually, but we'll get there.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing that there's no other comments, I will state comment. I just want to clarify, we only have the interdistrict magnet schools pursuant to the Connecticut State Department of Education as the Fairchild Campus and Discovery, correct?
Interdistrict is Discovery, Fairchild Wheeler, Aquaculture.
Okay. So when the clarification question I have is when you mentioned the magnet schools, we have other schools with the title of magnet, like Clater or multicultural. That's a different type of magnet.
Correct.
And then I'm not sure, but just for clarification, I don't think it's just for white suburban schools, the magnets, but suburban students.
Yeah.
But I'm not really, I still have the floor. I think in general, this has been the most thorough 100-day report, as well as just the information. Being as someone of color, and part of the reason why I wanted to join the Board of Education is to see students succeed that look like me, that live here in Bridgeport. And so one of the most disheartening things is hearing that we're in the bottom 4, or the Commissioners Network, or just what seems to be the image of failure, when I know that our students are resilient, brilliant, and our representatives here are examples of that. But as it was mentioned, it may not be equitable and spread evenly across the board. And so a lot of these decisions, while change may be difficult, we have to try items that would succeed. I would just ask that fellow board members, if you have specific questions that come up in new business, I would not mind discussing it with you in session, because it is very critical as to the status of the district. And that this failure and that image, I want to be part of the board where we are the premier district, where we do have the highest graduation rates, where our students are attending some of the most prestigious colleges and universities in this country on full rides. I want to be part of that change. And I think that all of us here today, we want to be part of that change as well. And having the dialogue in the appropriate environment would be critical to it, because what Dr. Levy Davis shared is our public shortcomings. But as we know in Bridgeport, there are a ton of organizations that want to see our students succeed. There are a ton of teachers that care about our students succeeding. And so we got to do something to change it. And I think that we have the right leader for the district to make that change happen. All right, I have to open let me go around to all board members in case they have any questions, then I'll come to you, because it looked like Mr. Medina was going to have his hand up. Just press the button in front of you if you have a comment.
No.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Trying to get out.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to clarify something I said before. It's one suburban student for 3 Bridgeport students. So one of them is worth 3 of us. And the difference between interdistrict and intra-district, yes, we have intra-district. Those intra-district students are 100% Bridgeport, and another one's outside.
Okay, I just think I may have misheard, but I thought you said white. And like
That's what he said. He said it.
Oh, it's okay. It's
More than
no
one.
problem. I just want order, just for clarification. This is extremely a critical and pivotal moment. And I want board members to realize that and not to fall divided on it, because I know we are all here for our students' success. We have our students in the district, had our students graduate from the district. We are aware of the shortcomings and there needs to be a change. Now, I don't want any back and forth, just wanted the clarification for that. Thank you very much, Mr. Sokolovic. Now, if there are any meaningful comments regarding the content in the superintendent's report, okay, Mr. Traber, and then I want to be able to move on to the action items. So I'll let Mr. Traber speak and then we'll proceed. Wait, okay, gotcha.
Here's the question. The scholarship program that you mentioned, I forgot what you called it.
Bridgeport Promise, is that what you're?
Yes, Bridgeport Promise. Is that solely for Bridgeport Public School students?
Yes, that is exclusively for students enrolled in Bridgeport Public Schools.
Well, I don't think you showed on the record, but okay. So we're going to, there's no unfinished business on the agenda, so we're going to move on to new business. Yes, Mr. Benahan? Oh, I didn't see your hand. Oh, okay. Yes, Mr. Benahan. Okay. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Camila, thank you for your report and understand your comment, Madam Chair. But one of the big points is here, and everything look nice and became really nice, but we had to work together as a team. I know sometimes we agree when it's great, but we have to work like a team, as you say. We're here to be sure our students be very successful. That doesn't mean because you say yes and I say no, doesn't mean we have to be enemy. And I don't like that. I don't like that because our students, parents, and staff depend from us to make decisions for them to be sure our staff educate our children. You know, it's very important that we work as together. Not because, as I say, you say yes and I say no, doesn't mean we've done it. We need to be a team. We need to be a better, because I know another town, they don't have that division. They have it, but they keep working. We need to work as a team. We here elected because the community. We're not here elected because the board, because the city, because the mayor, because this person. No, because the community elect us. To be sure, we're educated. We work together. We work as a team. We guide everyone to look that successful. Nothing is perfect, only God. But I don't know, like I say, with a good communication and respect, we have a great successful. I want to put that for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benahan. We're going to move on to new business, but as I suggested, we have some middle schoolers here to speak on Dreambox. Is there a motion to amend the agenda item for new business for Dreambox, which is item number 4? Oh, okay, up to item number 1. It's been moved by Mr. Traber.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Ms. Casimir. Okay. Any discussions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. Discussion and approval to enter into an agreement with Dreambox has been moved to item 1. And anyone that's here to present on it, if you could come forward as I make sure I don't mess up my numbers.
Good evening.
We presented the Dreambox PowerPoint at the last 2 meetings. So I promise I will just do a very short recap, which by the way, it was very eloquently done by Madam Chair. Thank you so much. I come before you to ask for your support in entering into an agreement with Dreambox. Dreambox, as you heard, is a web-based learning system that is founded on research, as you saw from the previous meetings, and used across many districts, just like ours, across the United States in mathematics. With the Khan Academy licenses expiring at the end of this year, we need to look for a program that can help move our students and enhance the current mathematics program. As you know, we always seek for what's best out there. And so during the years you've known me and come before you with things that have been tried, things that we have been done in the district and such. But don't take it from me. Take it from the students themselves. So just to add to the presentation, I went to the different schools and I asked for letters from the students to tell me about how they felt about the program. And I even asked some students to come here and speak on behalf of the program. Madam Chair, if I just wonder if there's any students here that will be able to do that. Am I allowed to do that at this point?
Absolutely. Is that fine with the board?
Are there any?
I have to go through a vote. Okay.
Oh, is it on? Okay.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Isla. I'm a student from Discovery Magnet Middle School. The rest of my classmates weren't able to make it today, but here I am. And I just wanted to come and tell you a little bit about Dreambox and why we need it. So Dreambox is an adaptive program designed to help students go further with their math skills. It makes them push their limits, because teachers are supposed to tell students, you don't have a limit. You don't have a limit, because beyond the sky is the limit, because these students are our next generation, and these students need help with their math. If we are one of the lowest performing schools and most performing districts in Connecticut, we need Dreambox to help students with their math. Because even if we have Khan Academy, has that been working so far? No, I don't think so. No, I don't see why we shouldn't have Dreambox. I mean, last year during 6th grade, I'm now an 8th grade student, by the way. I skipped grades. I skipped 7th grade. I use Dreambox regularly, and it helped me a lot with my math. And this year, Dreambox has helped me with scientific notation, because it teaches math in a way that teachers simply cannot explain it. It's very interactive. It's very visual, and it really helps the student focus. It really helps the students engage in their learning, because we all know a lot of students have trouble engaging with the classroom. If the student is sitting there and doesn't understand what their teacher is teaching, Dreambox Math can help that, because Dreambox Math meets a student where they are, and it pushes them further. And I really hope you're listening to me right now. I really hope you are, because this is really important. This is really important. As a student who's tested at the top of her grade in HMH testing due to Dreambox as well. So don't say that Dreambox isn't going to help, because Dreambox is very futuristic. Dreambox is the future. We are the future. Bridgeport kids are the future. And we need to provide them with tools from the future in order to help them. If students are sitting there confused, we should be able to provide them with the tools that will help them. Students need help. It's pretty basic. Thank you.
I have two letters that I'd like to read for you. The first one is a grade 5 student, Geraldine Johnston. And the student says, Dear Mr. Planas, my name is Alexander P. And I believe we should buy Dreambox for our students. It's fun, educational, and easy to use.
students would think Dreambox is just fun. They think that because when you do a lesson, there is a chance to be able to play a game. You can also customize your avatar with stuff like music, background, and profile. Students will learn more. They will learn because there are so many choices to learn from, and it tries to adjust to what level you're in math. It's a very educational app. Finally, students will understand the lesson. They will understand it well because the lesson has hints that tries to make it simple for students. If they don't still get it, they can send feedback so that people at Dreambox can see the problem. And it's easy because you can do this. So overall, Dreambox is fun, educational, and easy to use. You can conclude this because of all the reasons. This is our kids speaking. I have 4 slides, very short slides, and I know we spent a lot of time tonight, but I like to share the slides because I promised you that I was going to share some of the research that we've gotten from our students in regards to Reading Plus and Dreambox. And I invite my colleagues from Dreambox to share slide number 11, just to share the progress that our students have made by using Reading Plus, and in the short amount of time that we have used Dreambox, the progress that we have done.
Hi, thank you so much for having us. My name is Christy Robinson. I come from the Dreambox. I live here in Connecticut, up in Manchester. So I'm happy. I've been supporting Bridgeport Public Schools now for 3 years with their Reading Plus implementation. This data here is showing the data from last school year. And what it's basically telling us is that as the green goes down, the orange and the blue are going up. And what we're really looking at with Reading Plus is our silent reading fluency. How fast are our students reading? And how many grade levels they're able to increase with using the program. So last year, throughout the entire school year, students who completed 4 or more reading passages had an average word per minute gain of 50 words per minute and moved up an average of 2.2 reading level gains. What is really exciting, looking at this year data, to date, you are already on track to increase that. Where we're tracking right now is exactly where we ended the year last year. So for students reading 40 plus lessons in Dreambox Reading Plus right now, have again increased about 50 words per minute and moved up 2.2 reading levels. Next slide, please. Working with the Reading Plus software, we do a benchmark assessment 3 times a year here at Bridgeport Public Schools. We're currently in 30 schools within the district, 7th through 12th graders. Last year, when you're looking at the students who took B1 and B3, so your pre and post year data, the red represents students that were on the first benchmark more than 5 grade levels below their rostered reading level. And over the course of the school year, they increased down 7%. And for those students who completed that 40 lessons, which is minimal, our average for a school year is 80 to 100. But by completing 40 reading lessons, we decreased that 16%. What's amazing is the green, which is the students reading at or above grade level, increased by 14%. Again, that's last year's numbers. We just completed our second benchmark, or they're in process now, as many of the students will tell you. And so far, red has decreased by 10%, and the increase in green has been 8%. So again, students have decreased 10% of 5 or more reading levels below their roster grade level, and at or above grade level students has increased by 8% in half a school year. Next slide, please. For the Dreambox math component, we did a pilot here at Bridgeport. Students have really been using this with the holiday breaks about 22 days. So not a lot of time, but they do use this at home as well. It is available at home, at school, and this is a 4th grader at Multicultural.
In about 22 days, they have increased 3 months worth of math knowledge. So when they started using Dreambox as a 4th grader in December, they were at a grade level of 4.09, meaning they were at the beginning of 4th grade in mathematical standards. As of now, they're at 4.4. So they are more on track now. It's 4th grade, about the 4th month in, and we're about 5 or 6 months into school. So they're closer now to finishing on grade level in Dreambox math. Next slide, please. This report is a report that I can run at any time that shows district administrators and school administrators the growth that you're seeing as they progress through Dreambox. Dreambox recommends 5 lessons a week, regardless if you are a 1st grader or if you're an 8th grader, 5 lessons. We're really starting to see that growth. And what we can see here is students in 6th grade who played even a minimum of 2 lessons a week achieved 3.7 progress in Dreambox on average. That's moving through your Dreambox learning lesson units. Everything, just so you know, is tied to the Connecticut math standards. So they're making achievements in the Connecticut standards as you think about state assessment. Students who played between 2 and 5 lessons achieved 17% growth in the progress working through the mathematical units. And students who played 5 or more lessons advanced 50%. Once we get to 1%, that represents a full grade level worth of growth. So that's kind of a snapshot of a very short pilot in Bridgeport for 22 days of the math, as well as the Reading Plus data for the last school year. Are there any questions for us?
Mr. Medina?
I don't know if that's the time. I'm sorry, Madam Chair, if I overstepped.
That's extremely informative. And I open the floor to Mr. Medina, so I'm gonna let him go before I make my comments. Go ahead.
I don't know if it's on. Is it on? Want to make sure. Yep, I'm on. You had mentioned, I'll go to what you said last as far as the math. You said the math is 22 days. What school was that?
Multicultural, Johnson, and
Multicultural, Johnson, and Discovery.
Now, when you say 5 lessons and you use the word play, and I understand the word, what do you mean by that? When are they doing that? Are they doing during class time? Are they doing also only at home, or?
That's a great question. So we have established in our school wind blocks, and the wind blocks is between 20 and 30 minutes. And so during those 20 and 30 minutes, we have stations, and during one of those stations, we use the various programs that we have. So in this case, this specific classroom uses Dreambox, while the teacher has 5 students with them and is teaching them in a small group. They're really working, but in their language, they're having a good time. They're playing while learning.
You're talking to a coach here, so I know what it is to do homework and all that. That's practice, and the more work they do, the better they're going to get at it. And then going back to the reading, I just see that's in your slide number, I think it's number 11. This one? Yes. When you were there, I just noted that's also the same schools, correct?
The Reading Plus is implemented in 30 schools, 7th grade through 12th grade currently. In Bridgeport, yes, sir. This is all Bridgeport data for both Reading Plus and Dreambox Math.
I'm a new member, so I'm making sure that I know that, but also that my other fellow members know that. And I see, my last question, most likely, I see uses on the green. It says 6,971 students enrolled, but only 4,702 students active. How can we get that number up? Because I'm just concerned that's, over 2,000, close to over 2,200 students that are not active, and I'm just, why are they not active?
That's a great question. So part of that is the way that we roster here in Bridgeport. They've rostered all of the students because it's an easier option with like what we call our single sign-on. They've rostered all the students at that particular school. So if it's a K through 8 school, it's potentially that they have also rostered their 4th graders and 5th graders who are not yet using Reading Plus. And so the active are the students who have completed at least one reading lesson.
Thank you.
Mr. Medina, another thing is every week we send out to all the schools, we send out basically a report to let them know how their usage is going and their growth. But that's done in the reading department as well in the math department.
That's great, because one of the things that I'm trying to see and thinking of in advance is, since we've been told that there's many programs that have not deemed any good results, that we can, on a regular basis, see what's working, what's not. That way we can continue to push forward, find other avenues, and motivate, teachers if we have to. But thank you.
Any other questions from Mr. Benahan?
Thank you. Mr. Plana, does this include the special needs students?
Yes, this is accessible to all students in Bridgeport.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benahan. Okay, Mr. Sokolovic. Wait.
Thank you. My question is more for Ms. Siegel. I would like to know a little bit about the funding and the impact of our budget. She's online.
It doesn't look like she's answering, but maybe Mr. Planis can address your question.
Yeah, when I sent her, one of the things that we have been doing is collaborating in terms of, where we're going to find the funding. And yes, it's ESSER, our ESSER funding.
And that's paying for the whole entire thing?
I apologize?
It's paying for the whole 2 years?
The whole amount, yes.
Okay, thank you. So no impact on the operating budget? No impact on the operating budget?
Just my recollection is she said we will use our ESSER funding to pay for these.
Thank you.
Also, I have from my notes from committee meeting, and I was trying to keep it brief and not too long. We did receive a corporate sponsorship, so not only would Dreambox be accessible for K to 12 math, but we would also have Reading Plus. It's a combo, so we would also continue with Reading Plus for 7 through 12. And I just wanted to comment on that. But if Ms. Perez has a question, so Robert's rules, I go last. So go ahead. Go ahead.
Just for clarity, this is taking the place of a program already using Khan Academy. As far as I know, and I know from working. I used to work in a residential setting where we had students not in the classroom doing school from home. They were using Khan, and it wasn't for them it wasn't effective. So I do appreciate this presentation and the feedback from students who are using this. In terms of how they're progressing in their studies. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Perez. When I went to multicultural last week, I asked students, why do you like this more than any other program we've gotten? And an 8th grader raised her hand and she said, she actually looked like I should know this. She looked at me like annoyed. She said, when they use some programs, you're watching a video and you're solving problems by watching a video. When you use this program, you're being taken step by step as to the learning that is happening. And when you make a mistake, it prompts you something else that is going to help you learn until you solve the problem correctly. And that's coming from an 8th grader at Multicultural Magnet.
Final thought. And this is not, just for the public to know, this is not replacing what a teacher is doing in the classroom. This is a supplementary program to help students,
Absolutely not. We can never replace teachers. And in fact, if you notice, when I spoke about the WIN block, one of the things that I said is you have a small group of students with the teacher and you have stations going on. To have students for 30 minutes by themselves doing one thing in the classroom is not going to help us move that needle. So you're 100% correct. We're going to have a teacher working and rotating those students. And this is another tool, a very essential tool that is going to help us move our students forward in mathematics and in reading.
Oh, I cut myself off. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Traber? Oh. Press.
Press the button.
Press the button. I don't think no one else is on, so now you're on.
It's working? Yeah. Well, I'll start with the last page where I am now. Who's the corporate sponsor?
At the time, excuse me, at the time, we're not able to disclose the corporate sponsorship, but it does sum up to $200,000 worth of sponsorship. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, not a little worried. And I understand the various data you're presenting to us. I'll start with the one student at multicultural. Do we not have an analysis of all the students in multicultural since the beginning of the year? I mean,
we do have data on all the students that have participated.
Student that did really well really is statistically irrelevant.
Of course, but we've also only been piloting for 22 days.
No, I get that. I get why it's a very limited picture, but at the very least to show us what all the students did in those 22 days would be more useful than picking one student who appears to have done very well.
We wanted to show you the power within a very small amount of time. The average currently, after 25 days of piloting the program, is 0.1. 0.1 for all the schools, all 3 schools. And so that's even learning the program. That's 1 month of learning done in a time when there's, snowstorms and Christmas vacation and at the most, and Mr. Traver, is the most difficult time of the year. But 0.1 is a major accomplishment.
So this, which was, you got to point me right, we went up 0.3 on this one?
Yes.
So the average is a third of that?
The average is, yes.
Okay.
This student grew 3 months, and the
average grew, this student grew from 4.09 to 4.4. Am I reading it correctly?
Yes. That's correct. Yeah, 0.3 grade.
3.1.
Yeah.
Okay. All of these studies, is there any outside study of Dreambox or reading, your programs, either math or the reading, that are done by an outside? Because all the studies that I hear you citing are done internally.
They have it too.
What number?
Number 7.
Can you go to number slide 7, please?
3 months.
I think they have a copy of it too in their presentation.
Yeah, you have a copy of the presentation, so we're going to speak about slide number 7. Is that right?
Yes, slide number 7. If we look at here, we have independent research from Harvard, SRI, STEMworks, Digital Promise, and
but it doesn't elaborate what the study was. That's what I'm asking about. So we don't have it in front of us, anything.
of course, if you would like, I could get you the reports.
What I was asking about was, if we had been given anything that shows that, all right. That's all the questions I have, Madam Chair.
Okay, seeing that there's no other hands up, I want to make sure I make a comment. I just want to make sure I understand the math. So in 22 days, that's roughly about 1 month. We saw 1 month of growth. And so when I used to chair teaching and learning, you remember, Mr. Palanis, you would show me growth and I was like, how close would that get me to grade level? Now, most of our students are gone, but they always, I asked them during our dinner, what is the term the math ain't mathin' means? And the math here makes sense to me. So in about a 180-day school calendar, you're telling me that we can have approximately 1 year of growth, over 1 year.
1 year of growth.
And so I'm thinking about an old teaching and learning committee meeting, but my fear as a board member was seeing that an immense number of our 8th graders were going to high school and are in high school now, and they were not, and they were far from grade level. So in theory, if they were 2 years behind, freshman year, they would grow one level, so they would be 1 year behind. But you mean to tell me that by the end of, is a 3-year contract, they would be above grade level in theory for 11th grade in math, just in time for the SATs?
So we cannot, these numbers are just what we have currently. But what we have seen, for example, Chesapeake Bay, I had a conversation with Chesapeake Bay, who is utilizing this program in high school for high school students. And they're noticing that they're able to move those students into higher level classes with supports from this program. And that they come toward the program to help those students in meeting those needs that they have, so that when they get to the class, they're able to understand the instruction. And this is, again, Chesapeake Bay. I spoke to the director there, just doing my homework. Groton Schools, right? Yeah. Groton Schools is another, is the school system here in Connecticut. I mean, they're utilizing the program with fidelity. They're seeing that their students are growing throughout. I cannot predict if a student is going to grow, 2 years in 1 year. I cannot do that, because it all depends on that student and many other different things. But I could tell you that our students love this program, like you heard here today. Our students, they want to use it. In fact, we have a student that has collected 8,000 coins. 8,000 coins. Now, you get 299 coins for every game that you win. And it takes about a few hours, like 3 hours, to just win one of those activities. And this student has collected 8,000 coins in less than 22 days. That tells me that they really want to use it, that they really want to work, and they want to get good at this. And I think if our students are saying that they want to use it and they're learning from it and they're showing it, I think we should make the investment and make it happen for our kids.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Plannis. I just love that there's investment from our students and the opportunity to grow. And just circling back to like my personal vision for success in this district, I think this is definitely one of the tools to get us here. Seeing that there's no more comments, I would open the floor up for a motion to enter into Dreambox.
I'll make the motion to enter into Dreambox.
It's been made by Ms. Casimir. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Perez. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Oh, good. I think you're on. I don't think I cut you off, actually. I thought you had your hand up for discussion, Mr. Traber. Oh, okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, we will enter into the agreement with Dreambox. Thank you, Mr. Planas. Going to go into our new number 2 on the agenda is discussion and possible approval to enter into an agreement with Relay.
Hello, everybody. Can you see my screen that I'm sharing?
Yes, we can see your screen. Can we have an adjustment onto the volume as point of personal privilege? So Tim, could you just speak so I can make sure the board members can hear you for the presentation?
Yes. Can you hear me better now?
Oh, much better.
Awesome. Great. Am I set to get started?
Yes, you can start your presentation.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. It is great to be here with all of you tonight. My name is Tim Maines. I'm the Managing Director of Partnerships for Relay Graduate School of Education, and really excited to provide a high-level summary of information about Relay and our multi-year proposal to support the leaders, teachers, and students of Bridgeport Public Schools. This is a proposal that we've developed in collaboration with Drs. Avery and Levy David. We're really excited because it directly aligns with your district priorities that have been reviewed in the meeting today, including developing teacher capacity and immersing the district in instructional leadership practices and introducing instructional frameworks to improve that Tier 1 instruction. So before diving into some of the elements of the proposal itself, I want to start by sharing a little bit of high-level information about Relay and the work that we do with in partnership with districts from around the country.
I'm having trouble understanding.
Miss,
I don't know whether it's the system or she's speaking too fast.
It's just a point of personal privilege. Tim, could you just speak slowly and more clearly? I think we're all the way up on volume on our end. That way board members can hear you.
Now
we can't hear you at all.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the best place to start sharing information about Relay is with our mission and vision statement that is on the screen. And Relay Graduate School of Education is a nationally accredited not-for-profit institution of higher education, and we serve teachers and school and system level leaders at every level of their career around the country. And this mission and vision statement that you see really is our why here at Relay, and it grounds everything that we do. And to date, we've trained over 9,500 leaders and 20,000 teachers around the country through our professional education programs. And the educators that have participated have consistently provided really positive feedback, not only about the quality of our content, but its impact on their work. I'm sorry, it keeps muting me for some reason, but there are a few core components of all of Relay's programs that you can see here on the screen. First of all, our programs are designed to center equitable practice in service of creating inclusive conditions where all students can thrive. Also, our programs are grounded in practice and feedback. We believe that the best way to master a new skill is to have time to practice it and hone that skill before you take it into the field. And finally, our programs are research-based and provide actionable frameworks that are proven to drive success for all students. And speaking of those successful partnerships, I wanted to quickly share some impact data from some of our other partnerships, starting with DC Public Schools. Some quick context here. 2 of DC Public Schools clusters were seeing lagging student achievement, and they identified a need to align their leadership throughout the district in order to improve teaching and learning across all campuses. And to accomplish this goal, they began a multi-year partnership with Relay starting in school year 18 and 19. And since that partnership began, we have trained over 700 leaders across that district through a multi-year scope of work that is very similar to the proposal that we've developed for Bridgeport, in order to build alignment across the district around key instructional frameworks. And together we have achieved really exciting results, and students at these schools have made impressive gains since the partnership began. I'm excited to share a few brief highlights of that impact. The first impact headline of this partnership is that schools in one of the clusters, cluster 3, saw dramatic gains in student achievement in ELA. And ELA was the district's priority content area in order to address post-pandemic literacy gaps. Also, 9 of the 12 schools outpaced their district in growth, and 2 of the schools achieved double-digit gains. And all schools in this cluster receiving Relay support also saw a decrease in the percent of students scoring at the lowest level. The second DCPS impact headline relates to DC's bold performance schools. These are schools that serve high at-risk student populations and have combined math and ELA proficiency rates that are dramatically higher than schools with similar demographics. And they encompass both district and charter schools in the city. And in 2023, for the second year in a row, DCPS had 5 schools selected as bold performance schools. And of those 5, 3 of them were in cluster 3 and receiving Relay support. The second partnership example I wanted to highlight is our work with Pueblo School District in Colorado. Some context here. In 2017, this district was identified as one of the lowest performing in the state. Their student achievement ranked in the bottom 20% for both ELA and math. And based off the impact of a few leaders participating in Relay's national programming, a few years before we entered into this agreement, the district selected Relay as their turnaround support partner, and we began a multi-year partnership during which we've provided diverse and tailored support to both district level leaders and leaders within 3 target school campuses. And that model of supports that we found so much success in with Pueblo is very similar to the supports that we have included in our multi-year proposal for Bridgeport. And the results here with this partnership were also really exciting. Over the course of 3 years, the focus schools went from the lowest performing schools to outperforming the district average. And I have a couple more highlights of that success to share. The first headline here is that of the 3 current focus schools participating in Relay's programs, 2 of them have already been removed from turnaround status. And the third, which was the most recent school to begin their multi-year arc of supports, is on a positive trajectory to do so as well. We also have really compelling data that teachers in these schools have reported consistent improvements in teaching and learning conditions as a result of their leaders prioritizing instructional leadership. The second headline is a specific example from one of those schools, Minnequaw Elementary, which saw significant growth for their students in both ELA and math compared to their peers in the district and throughout the state of Colorado. So now that we've shared some details about our impact with other partners around the country, I wanted to provide some more detail about our specific proposed scope of work with Bridgeport. And that proposed scope of work is grounded in Relay's theory of action, which is really the backbone of upon which all of our programs are built. And this framework begins with vertically aligned teams of district leaders, school leaders, and teachers, all experiencing aligned, high-quality professional development. That then builds skill in core and proven practices that support all students. And then, alongside a Relay coach, these skills are honed and refined in order to build the key systems and structures that are required to effectively spread those practices across a system. And then effective implementation of those systems drive change through increased use and efficacy of those core and proven practices that, when all taken together, improve student outcomes over time. And what we've at Relay found is really the true catalyst for change across a system is highly engaged leaders, such as your district team, investing in a strong foundation of professional development. That's the powerful learning experience at the beginning of that previous slide. And then that is supported by customized and focused PD and coaching that focuses on the unique needs of district leaders, school leaders, and teachers. And you'll see this framework actualized in our multi-year proposal, which I'm excited to share a little bit more detail about now. So our proposal is designed around 3 core pillars, which will each roll out intentionally every year. The first pillar is district level supports. These supports are designed to support a skillful and cohesive and aligned district team. Supports under this pillar include a core group of district level leaders participating in the National Principal Supervisor Academy Fellowship Program each year, quarterly strategic planning, supervisor implementation clinics, and executive coaching. The second pillar is cohort by cohort focused school supports. And these provide in-school and virtual coaching directly to the selected school leaders, in addition to additional targeted professional development and strategic consulting. And then finally, the third critical pillar is teacher professional development. And this pillar is designed to create alignment and investment across all levels within the district, including the critical teachers who, as we know, are most directly connected to and engaging with students. I also wanted to note that we have built into our proposal strategic opportunities for board members, such as yourselves and other key stakeholders in the district, to have the opportunity to come and learn alongside us, to see the work in action. And that we believe is going to really help you all understand the impact of the work and support that effective implementation. So how this looks on a multi-year scale is really focused on creating a strategic plan in order to execute each of those pillars with focus groups and schools each year in order to gradually and intentionally scale the work across the district. So at the district level, what this looks like is each of the first 3 years, the district would identify a cohort of district level leaders to attend the National Principal Supervisors Academy. Also, we would prioritize the district-wide leader training in the first 3 years in order to build that really strong foundation that we have found is the catalyst for effective change. And then each year's service in this pillar also includes customized supports, meaning additional professional development or coaching for those district leaders. Then the school level supports for both leaders and teachers will follow a cohort model. So in year 1, the cohort will begin with 9 schools, and the leaders at those 9 schools will begin a 3-year arc of content of both professional development and coaching. And then the teachers at those schools will also begin their own aligned 3-year arc of professional development. And then each subsequent year, we will start a new cohort in that 3-year arc for both the leaders and the teachers. And this cohort model allows us to not only build proof points across the district, but also to really support that effective scaling across the district. And that concludes our summary of our multi-year proposal. We are really excited about the potential impact of this partnership. We appreciate the collaboration thus far, and we're happy to answer any questions you all may have. I do have joining me tonight my colleague Meredith Anderson. Her role here at Relay bridges the gap between partnerships and the programmatic teams. So she helped craft this proposal and is also here to answer any questions.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'll open up the floor to questions from board members. I know this was introduced into 2 committees, voted, vetted, opportunities to speak. Are there any additional questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to enter into a contract with Relay. Is there? Oh, hit the button. Oh, it still didn't work. Okay, now.
A motion to enter into approval with Relay.
Okay, there's been a motion. Is there a second? Don't forget to hit the button. And once you're done, turn off your button. Yes, it's been moved by Ms. Perez, second by Mr. Woodson. Are there any further debate or comments? Hearing none, all in favor for, we have a roll call vote. All in favor for entering into the contract, Ms. Perez will do the roll call.
Christine Baptiste.
Yes.
Perez.
Oh, okay. I thought you were asking me to vote. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Albert Benahan.
Turn. Just make sure you gotta turn it off so when he clicks, I can hear him. All right. So go ahead, Mr. Benahan.
Akeisha Casimir.
Yes.
Willie Medina.
No.
Jennifer Perez. I go with yes. Joseph Sakalovic.
No.
Robert Traber.
No.
Andre Woodson.
Yes.
Albert Benahan.
No.
Does not pass.
Motion does not pass. Attorney Anastasi. A motion for reconsideration, or is it a recall? So board members can discuss this, reconsider it immediately. I think it's reconsidered. Recall happens at another meeting.
Number one, I couldn't hear all the voting, so my first question is, did the chair vote to affect the outcome?
Yes, so it's deadlocked.
The second point I would make then is a motion to reconsider has to be made by someone who voted with the prevailing side.
So it would need to be okay.
And the vote has already been announced, so it's been announced it's failed, so it's too late for anyone to change the vote. The only thing that could be done would be, at some point, could have a motion to rescind, but generally you don't rescind something that fails. If there was a desire, somebody could try to reintroduce it at a later date. But again, the short answer is only somebody who voted with the prevailing side can move to reconsider.
Thank you. Okay, the time now is 9:28. Just for reference for the board, if we don't plan to be here all night, we can move to adjourn the meeting and everything moves on to unfinished business at the next meeting. So if there's a board member that's interested, or essentially what we would be doing is tabling the agenda item, because I know we went through a lot with our students' reports and introduction to the city, as well as the superintendent's 100-day report. So it would show up at our next regular board meeting, every agenda item that we have not touched. So if there's a motion to adjourn, I'll be entertained at this time.
Motion to adjourn.
There's been a motion to adjourn by Ms. Casimir.
Okay, second.
It's been second. Roll call vote.
Christine Baptiste Perez,
Yes, to adjourn.
Albert Banningham,
He didn't turn his off.
Well, Mr. Medina has his mic on, so I can't turn yours on.
Go ahead.
No.
Keisha Casimir,
Yes.
Willie Medina.
No.
I'm gonna go with no. Joseph Sakalovic,
No.
Robert Traber,
No.
Andre Woodson.
Yes, to adjourn.
Noes have it.
The noes have it. The next item up for discussion is discussion and possible approval to enter into agreement with Hanover Research. I think that it would be critical for the board to enter into executive session before having this presentation. So I'll entertain a motion to enter into executive session.
Madam Chair, I don't mean to interrupt, but if you're going to go into executive session, you have to state the reason for it. It has to be something that satisfies one of the reasons under the FOI. It has to be stated for the record.
The record, the reason that we're moving to go into executive session is that it would contain privileged information as to the state of the district, and that information cannot be made public. Regarding it also would include the personnel numbers, stuff to that effect, which is also, I believe that would be qualifying.
The only other thing I would state, if anyone other than the board is going to go into executive session, you have to state on the record who they are, and they can only stay in while their input is necessary.
Oh, it would just be board members, well, everybody here is present, as well as the superintendent, so that way board members can be fully privy to the information critical in this decision making. So if there's a...
Are they presenting first?
We're going to wait for your presentation. We're just going to see if there's going to be a vote to go into session. So is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Perez.
Second.
Second by Mr. Woodson.
Roll call.
Christine Baptiste Perez,
Yes.
Albert Banahan,
No.
Keisha Casimir,
Yes.
Willie Bedina,
No.
Jennifer Perez, yes. Joseph Kalovic,
No, we did this publicly twice already.
Robert Traber,
No.
Andre Woodson,
Yes.
does not, it's
Deadlock. You can go ahead, Mr. Howell, and
Sure thing. I'll try to be quick too, since we've already seen this presentation. I provided a packet of information tonight in lieu of doing a PowerPoint presentation. That packet of information has, sorry. I provided a packet of information, perfect. Packet of information, packet of information that has a suggested detailed scope based off of ongoing conversations with district leadership. Again, my name is Lindsay Howe. I'm a senior director at Hanover Research. I also have my colleague, Brian Miller, who's joining virtually online. I've been working with district leaders over the last few months to identify areas of research that might inform certain priorities. Priorities include instructional practices, data literacy and assessment, program evaluation, specifically programs added under ESSER funding, and an analysis of staffing and HR district-wide. Hanover Research is a nationally recognized custom research and professional services firm specializing in K-12 education. We work with about 400 districts nationwide, including several in Connecticut. Some of the areas that we best support districts on are custom research. We design custom research support to improve outcomes specific to each district that we work with. Common methodologies include surveys, focus groups, in-depth interviews, data analysis, best practices, and peer benchmarking. We have over 200 different areas of expertise on staff. I also would like to note that many of our researchers are former teachers and administrators who have practical experience. Our advisory services, this is think of implementation support and action planning. A member of Hanover's research team leads workshops and quarterly consults to empower district leadership to make informed decisions using the completed research. And Hanover Digital, this is a platform for district leadership, instructional leaders, and executive coaches across the district that spans K-12 topic areas. There's over 1,300 different resources. So think things like discussion guides, syndicated research, redacted research, best practices on a variety of K-12 topic areas. We complete research sequentially as part of a queue, meaning we create a scope of work that includes a series of projects. We take a mixed methods approach to provide comprehensive research. So for example, a survey can tell us a lot on the quantitative side of things, but layered in with qualitative feedback like in-depth interviews and focus groups expands our understanding of perception data. Our model is rooted in flexibility, meaning we are continually scoping the needs of the district and presenting research deliverables best suited to maximize academic impact. We act as a capacity expansion for the district and offer a third-party perspective. Research projects are presented in a series so that we're not duplicating work and we're delivering them one at a time. If we believe that we have completed research up to its necessary point, we pivot to a different topic area. After the conclusion of each research project, Hanover debriefs key findings and recommendations, trains district staff on any use of deliverables, such as a dashboard, to ensure that they know how to interpret the data and use it. We really believe in application and understanding of data. We also have the ability to create capstone deliverables to inform constituent groups such as school board and the community to ensure progress and impact occurring from the research. Deferring back to the specific priorities of Bridgeport, you'll see within the packet that we've identified 4 areas: high quality instruction, for an instructional audit, data literacy and assessment, program evaluation, and a staffing and HR analysis. These areas align with the district priorities outlined in the superintendent's message earlier this evening. More specifically, district leadership has expressed a desire for Hanover to deliver research to understand the use of assessments and grading practices and standardization across the district. For Hanover to complete a data analysis of student outcomes district-wide that looks at academic, programmatic, and demographic indicators of success. This would likely be delivered through a dashboard so that you can visualize data at various levels, including school, grade level, district-wide, and a year-over-year analysis of performance. Many districts also choose to use these data literacy tools as part of a way to educate the public in terms of improved student outcomes or areas of need. A third-party evaluation of ESSER-funded programs to determine a return on investment and fidelity of implementation, and positions created filled under ESSER funding to understand staffing needs, as well as strengthening data practices district-wide. When it comes to completing an instructional audit, we mean creating a framework to examine how instruction is planned, designed, delivered, and assessed. We know that there's many components to instruction that need to work together to improve student outcomes. These include curriculum, materials, assessment, standards, evaluation, and professional development. We want to gather feedback from staff and their input on how effective these components are in their ability to deliver high-quality instruction. We will look at data on student outcomes to help the district monitor if inputs, resources, and programs are improving academic outcomes through this data dashboard. Our data analysis looks at student outcome data, and we also have the ability to identify early warning indicators in students and district-wide. The first phase of an instructional audit is about collecting and centralizing data to establish a baseline. Hanover will guide district leadership in identifying opportunities and risks from what the data reveals. We'll also look to deliver root cause analysis, as in, why do these gaps frequently occur and how can we mitigate them? I want to take a minute here to also make the distinction between Hanover and Relay. Hanover's goal is to provide research identifying gaps in alignment within all components of instruction. Our advisory support is connected to action planning from that research. Hanover's work can inform and support the services Relay is planning as they work with district-wide staff. To summarize, the work being presented to assess and understand instruction layered with a data analysis of student outcomes over time is going to create an understanding for the district to improve student outcomes and lay the groundwork for effective program evaluations. In our curriculum and instruction meeting, I knew that it was very important for board members to see examples of this. Hanover provided some key case studies, as well as some examples where we've worked with various districts to identify the return on investment in order to ensure that programs are actually making an impact as they were intended to and providing the district with a return and use of their fiscal dollars. There. After deferring to district leadership, we've laid out a few options for a contract and have determined that it's in the best interest of the district to engage in a 1-year agreement. Within that agreement too, that allows you all the flexibility to evaluate Hanover itself and how you see our efficacy as a research organization. We fully intend to provide transparency in the work that we're doing and being able to provide communication components back to the board. I'll pause here at this time to take any questions.
Any questions from board members? Ms. Perez.
Question. Just to clarify what we learned in the committee meetings, this is a program evaluation that will cover the multiple learning programs that the city is, or the district is currently using, some of which are probably not being used to the full extent that they're supposed to be. And I'm assuming, most of it was ESSER dollars that we put it in. And so I like the idea of an outside company doing an instructional audit on what is working, what isn't working for our students. And that's all I have to say about that, I guess.
Okay. I would like to piggyback off of that, and it's unfortunate that we won't be able to go into session to share further details, but there are programs that are not being implemented or used in the district that's cost a lot of money. I think this goes ahead and squashes the false narrative that was presented during public comment that this is an 8-year agreement and can't even do that. And ask Tony Pires back. That I didn't mean to do it. I couldn't help myself. And so this would just be a 1-year agreement. With the educational audit, would it be able to, I suppose, I'm just trying to break it down into more layman's terms, but not only just programs that are not being effective or even used in the district, but what other things can the audit expose that's been done in other districts? That way it could be very helpful. Because, so that'll be the first part.
That's a great question. So in terms of what does the audit actually uncover, this was also provided to you this evening too. And what we're looking here for, especially in year 1, is a baseline information of data. We're looking at instructional practices. So things, oftentimes district leaders will do walkthroughs through classrooms to actually identify current practices that are happening. We can collect data from that. We can take student outcomes data and we can look at where are core components of education working. Really drilling into, is this a school by school issue? Is this a grade level issue? Is this a curriculum issue? Is this a materials issue? So the idea there is to isolate and identify what those root causes are within that. The other side of this too are assessments. We know that teachers across district, especially a district as large as Bridgeport's, may utilize assessments or grading practices inconsistently from building to building. And we know that that can impact student outcomes. So we may be looking at what do those assessments look like? Do they follow best practices? Are they aligned with state standards there? Now, the idea with an instructional audit is to look at those components of instruction, and then we start to narrow down program by program when we're looking at fidelity of implementation and return on investment. So we're looking at some macro level practices that tend to affect students, and then we're starting to get more narrow and more specific. So for example, we may have districts that do an instructional audit, and then they may isolate, so special education is one of them, and I know that that was shared tonight, is that we want to identify, is our special education working? Is our special education program being offered to students who require special education? Are students able to graduate out of special education practices? Is the return on investment occurring? Do we have the correct staffing ratios that are occurring there? And so the idea is that we're setting a macro level framework to help the district really specify particular areas.
I'm going to continue with my time for the, Hanover has worked with Stanford, Norwalk, West Hartford, Hartford, and outside of Connecticut, like Syracuse. I did research today online about some of the top performing districts and recently saw that Norwalk had made a list as a similar sized district and just as Bridgeport. How long have you been working? I'm not sure. Can you disclose disclose what you can regarding your work with Norwalk and Stanford, as those are our peers in terms of size and diversity, because what we're seeing in those districts is success. And then also, when did you enter in, again, that should be publicly available, enter into contract with Hartford, because they're also has room for improvement, but have an opportunity district, but they have moved forward with partnership with Hanover.
Correct. I'm going to defer to my colleague Brian with some statistics on length of time between those districts.
Yep, I am pulling it up right now. Let's see. West Hartford, we've been working with them since looks like 2016, Norwalk 2016. Stanford, I believe we just started working with them. Hartford, we started working with them, I want to say about 3 or 4 years ago. There's only so much that we can share for client confidentiality. We can't share specifically what we're doing with them and the types of contracts, but we can share that we've been working with them for, some of them a number of years, and have supported them in many different ways.
And I can share broad level too. Some of the key topic areas, especially in the Northeast, program evaluation is the biggest one. Districts want to determine the value of the programs that they're adding, the implementation components. The other side too are equity audits. So we complete a lot of equity audits, and we have a lot of districts who are requesting an understanding of data literacy practices across the district, knowing that you have lots and lots and lots of data, and we're working with districts to synthesize that data into really digestible components. So for example, I talked a lot about that data dashboard. We have several districts that ask us to take the data that is most relevant and that is most impactful to the district and put that into workbooks for district leadership that align with strategic priorities to help them assess performance ongoing, and also making that data specific to individual roles. So the idea being that they can take a look at that data and say, how does this data affect me within my role? So if we're talking about instructional leaders in various capacities who maybe aren't looking at things from a macro level, the goal is to take that data, make it more digestible.
Okay. I'll yield the floor to Ms. Perez.
And this information was already presented in the Instruction Support Service Committee, and as well as the personnel contracts. But the options that you're sharing with us, we're leaning towards option one, as was discussed in committee, which was $130,000, which would be used to evaluate. I'm just going to reiterate things I've already said. Evaluate programs that are not working or working in the district. Maybe we're finding things that do work. Could potentially save us millions on these programs that we're using, as far as I'm aware from the committee meeting. So for $130,000, that could potentially save us millions down the line. I think it's a good idea to use a program like this. I also want to say that I was reading through previous teaching and learning committee meetings back when the school start times were first proposed about 2 years ago under a previous superintendent, and he referenced a study from Hanover that was used in a neighboring district here. So just throwing that out there, I know start times is something that our board is looking at. So this could potentially lead to maybe a study done or something like that, I'm assuming. Am I going in the right direction here? Is that right? So I think it's a good idea to, I'm just going to throw it out there. I think it's a good idea to that we really look into this and consider this research program.
And is it okay if I reference one of the studies that I?
Yes.
Okay. One of the studies that I shared after our last meeting was where Metro Nashville, it's a pretty comparable district in size-wise to Bridgeport and demographics of students. Through Hanover's program evaluation components, we saved the district $7.2 million that they were able to allocate to different programs by recognizing that the reading recovery program that they were using was not working. It was not providing intended results. And so they were able to put that back into various departments, one of which was the special education department, and also hiring additional staff for additional support.
Okay. I'm going to ask some really simple questions. This is more for the superintendent. Do you believe the partnership with Hanover would overall help with a more efficient school district and thereby help with student success? Again.
Absolutely. I think that a lot of the questions relating to oversight, relating to effectiveness, relating to the veracity of what we are doing and what is presented is exactly what Hanover is meant to provide. So if we are truly interested in answering these questions with a level of competence, a level of research, and a level of responsibility in moving forward and transforming the district, it is absolutely imperative to have Hanover Research as part of this process.
Question? I don't know if I'm on. Yes, I am. The gentleman that's with us, I apologize, I don't have my other screen on. You had said they were making reference to Norwalk, I believe. And you said you were working with them since 2016, correct?
Correct.
So that's the last 8 years. Can you say how many times did they renewed? Or I know we're looking at 1 year, so I just want to ask a question as far as that's concerned, if you can say.
Yeah, so that means they've renewed every year since 2016. So, yep, they've elected to. I'll also note too, we have an 82% renewal rate. Typically, the main reason for districts not to renew with us, there's probably two. One is budget, and two is a change in leadership.
Welcome to our world. Second question is maybe more towards the superintendent. Was there any other program or research firm that was vetted also that's like Hanover?
The work that Hanover does is truly unique and not something that would be easily replicated with one particular research firm. They're sort of a catch-all, end-all for a lot of different processes that we would have to end up hiring several different firms to assess. They're one of the few in the country, if not in the world, that are able to do the work that they do across the broad scope of services that they assess.
And with that statement, across the whole assessment, what do you mean by that as far as across?
In other words, their ability to assess not only budget, but instruction, human services, the way that we use our personnel resources. They're able to assess a multitude of organizational attributes, not just instruction.
And if I may speak here too, one of the key areas of distinction is Dr. Levy-David really kind of hit that right there is a lot of our competitors might do just surveys and just a dashboard. And that's what the district would get is a survey, a dashboard. We're much more comprehensive and we allow the district to switch between topic areas. So, you know, I think COVID was a really good example of that, where for some districts, we were pretty focused on program evaluation or a specific topic area. And then all of a sudden school districts said, hey, we need help on data in order to support virtual classroom instruction, and we need it now. And so we were able to pivot very quickly with a lot of our districts. We have some districts who come to us who say, hey, look, we've got a different priority this particular quarter. So we've got that flexibility. I'll also note another area of distinction too is our advisory services combined with research. Since we do custom research to the district, there's also another component of research that some of our competitors use, which is syndicated. So for example, you might get a report of best practices across the entire country, but you wouldn't necessarily get a report that's specific to Bridgeport Public Schools. So we're really kind of leaning into that customized side of things specific to the district.
Thank you. I tell you, I was part of that committee when you guys presented a couple of days ago, and I was blown away to try to get everything detailed. So I only had like one question, and it was just where we're leaning on, as I look at my notes, where we're leaning at it as a district or as the superintendent, how many years. And I know my colleague mentioned about the 130, but there is two, that strategy one, option one actually is either 130,000 or 175. And that hasn't been addressed. So there's two different, there's the same, but there's a difference of like 40 plus $45,000 difference, which would include the focus groups added to that package. So there's one without and one with, just to give you a reference on the numbers.
Yeah, and that focus groups really, so we do, on the qualitative side, we do in-depth interviews, we do focus groups. And so there are some districts who are totally satisfied with in-depth interviews, where that's where we're doing one-to-one interviews until we're starting to hear the same themes over and over and over again. I would say most districts that do in-depth interviews get about 15 to 30, depending on the topic area or the constituent group. On the focus group side of things, we recruit, we manage the focus groups, we do the data analysis. We tend to do those on site. So there's also an added cost there. And we're doing those in groups of 12. So if the district wanted to add those focus groups, they can. It's just an option. And I think to your earlier point in the last committee meeting was, the district does have the option to do a 3-year agreement with opt-outs. So you can do 130,000 and sign that 3 years and choose to not renew. So, and that would maintain pricing.
Thank you.
Seeing that there's no more hands up, I'll entertain a motion to enter into an agreement with Hanover. It's been by Ms. Perez.
Second that.
Second by Ms. Casimir. Any further debate? Seeing that there's no further, I'm going to say a comment for debate. I think it's critical that as a board, we be mindful that we are an opportunity district. We are only better than 3 other schools in Connecticut. And we're going forward with the 1-year option. And if we're truly interested in where we are failing, how we are failing, where's the failure happening, this is the way to pinpoint it. And we get it real time, real issues. And so if we truly want to see change, we should give this a shot. Because we cannot, that's the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over with failing processes and then expecting a different outcome because we're too scared to make the bold decision to make a change. We want more students like our student reps. I want to hear more students going to Stanford, Wesleyan, UConn. And that does not happen. So if we're truly dedicated, and it's an entire ecosystem. It's not just the classroom. It's not just the teachers. This looks at a multitude of aspects. So if you are truly interested in changing this district, I strongly urge that you vote yes in favor of it. There's been a motion for a roll call vote, so we'll entertain the roll call.
Christine Baptiste Perez.
Yes.
Albert Benahan.
No.
Akeisha Casimir.
Yes.
Willie Medina.
No.
Oh my God.
Jennifer Perez, yes. Joseph Sikalovic.
No.
Robert Traber.
No.
And Andre Woodson.
Yes.
Deadlock.
Okay.
So motion fails. The next item on the agenda is discussion and possible approval to enter into an agreement with Hey Tutor.
Good evening once more.
I'll be brief.
On this one,
This past summer, the Connecticut State Department of Education allocated $10 million to provide districts with high dosage tutoring for students in mathematics in grades 6 through 9. This was a grant. We applied and are happy to inform that we're receiving $240,500 to support this endeavor. So it's not going to cost anything from our district to basically have this program. We researched the list of in-person tutors. We wanted it to be in person. We didn't want it to be virtual. We wanted a person to be there with a teacher. And we researched all the companies that were vetted by the Connecticut State Department of Education. We actually went to some sites to actually see some of those tutoring programs. And we elected, after an extensive search, we elected Hey Tutor to provide the tutoring services at 2 schools. We selected Johnson School and Fairchild Wheeler for the same reasons that Madam Chair mentioned at the beginning. We noticed that there was a lot of diversity in Johnson School and they needed help, and it would be a good place to put a tutoring program. And Fairchild being an inter-district school, it would be a great place to provide that support for our students. In addition to the fact that these 2 schools have a very stable leadership and will be able to support this program. One of the things from this grant, being brief, I apologize, I want to be brief. One of the things is that this might be a pilot for the state, and they might allocate more money. We don't know that yet. They said that they might have around 2. So we wanted to show that we could have growth and we can help our students at the same time. So in being brief, our program is going to be, or we wanted to be a 17-week program. Hey Tutor will provide 12 tutors to work in the 2 schools. Tutors will meet with students during the mathematics wind block, 3 to 5 students per tutor, up to 20 hours per tutor. The tutors will be vetted following the district's guideline. And upon signing the contract, there is a 4 to 6 week vetting period to vet and train the tutors. All the residual time, and this is something that was not very clear during the discussions in the committee, all the residual time that we don't use this year, we could use it next year. So we have until January 2025 to utilize all the funds. Gabriel Ning, representative for the company, flew all the way from LA to be here with you and answer any questions that were not answered in the 2 presentations, including tonight. So if you have any questions, Gabriel's here.
I'll open up the floor to board members for any questions or comments. Mr. Sokolovic.
Just for clarification, it was mentioned that we got certified teachers. They're certified through Hanover. They're not certified, I apologize, through Hey Tutor, not through the state of Connecticut, correct?
Yeah, it's through Hey Tutor. So our qualifications are going to be 3+ years experience in either a classroom setting or private tutoring setting. And then the vast majority have at least a bachelor's degree. And we also partner directly with the HR department of Bridgeport Schools in order to do background checks, fingerprinting, along with TB testing if it's required.
Thank you very much.
Medina.
And again, for just, oh. Is it on? Don't think so. Turn red.
Mr. Trump is on.
Oh,
His is on.
okay.
There you go. Just for my colleagues, that was Geraldine Johnson and Fairchild Wheeler, correct? The 2, correct, according to my notes. And we're moving forward for this year. Start this right away. And again, just for the subject that we're speaking about is math. That's what my colleagues do think. And it's fully funded through that grant, so it won't cost the district anything. So thank you again for your time. Sorry you had to travel, but you have to be here. Appreciate your time.
Mr. Traber?
Let's start. Let's start. Now? Good. Let's start with your answer to Mr. Sokolovic's question at half the speed.
Okay, so just to go over one more time.
Certification.
Yeah, so it's going to be 3+ years of experience in either a classroom setting or a private tutoring setting. And then the vast majority of tutors have at least a bachelor's degree. We also partner directly with your HR. Yeah. So vast majority have at least a bachelor's degree. And then we also partner directly with your HR department to do national level background checks and fingerprinting. And we can also do tuberculosis testing if required by the district.
Okay, and then if I recall the other night, you said that it's a 10 to 12 minute tutoring. I mean, this could be either one of you, I'm not.
Yeah, it's 20 to 30 minutes. Each tutor will have 20 to 30 minutes.
With each
Student.
with each group of students. And then they will rotate
The students, they'll
spend basically 4 days, 20 hours each tutor. So, for example,
for a child,
there's 3 different Fairchild wheelers. There'll be 3 tutors at each of the Fairchilds, and they will.
We already have a schedule
by the
principals where they will
have those tutors at various points of day, and they will actually
include a lunch during that time so the tutor can eat
during the day.
So are they pushing in or pulling out?
Pushing in. During
and what were the number of students in a group?
3 to 5, no more than 5.
3 to 5 students per group. I think that's it.
Bench.
Ms. Perez?
Motion to enter into agreement with Hey Tutor.
Second.
Second.
I'll take the second by Mr. Medina. Any further debate? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Hearing none. The motion to enter into agreement with Hey Tutor passes. The next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to revise Bridgeport Public Schools hiring procedures for policy on certified staff. As mentioned during my committee report, I received several phone calls regarding concerns with this, and I move that this item is tabled for further consideration at a later date. So, would anyone like to entertain that motion? So there would be no discussion on the topic. A lot of community members were concerned about change in precedent here in Bridgeport. So, yeah. It's been moved by Ms. Perez. Second by Mr. Benahan. Okay, so now we're going to enter into debate regarding it. So if you have a...
Debate to table or to commit?
Oh. It's going to refer back to committee, sorry.
So the motion is to commit to.
Refer back to committee for further consideration.
So you're not going to give a new second because that wasn't the original motion.
Okay, so Ms. Perez, can you just state for the record, what was your motion?
Motion to refer.
Okay, so there's a motion to refer to committee. I believe it was seconded by Mr. Mr. Benahan. It was clarified that it's referring back to committee given extensive feedback and calls. Any further debate?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm really glad to ask going back to committee where I was unable to speak and raise this point, but the very premise of renewing this policy was based on a falsehood. The policy reads, principals and assistant principals do not need to be interviewed in an executive session. The board was called out for violating the policy for adequately and legally interviewing our principals and assistant principals. Where the policy violation comes in was with the personnel department only providing us with one candidate for each position. And the policy calls for 2 to 5 candidates to be brought before the board. So that means that some staff members were cheated out of their interviews, and we definitely need to tighten up that policy. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Traber?
We had an extensive discussion on that at the Personnel and Policy Committee, where we spent hours. We had a long night together interviewing candidates, but we were presented one candidate for each position. The policy is very clear about having multiple candidates per position. And when it was explained to us, we had a discussion with the HR director at the time, Ms. Alma Dixon, about that policy and what it's supposed to do. Now, whether or not that policy is enforced is an action for the union to decide. But that is correct what Mr. Sakalovic said at that meeting. Ms. Perez, myself, and Ms. Brown were the members of that committee at that meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Traber. Okay, so seeing no further discussion, all in favor for referring back to committee? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries to refer back to committee. The next item on the agenda was also mentioned during the superintendent's report, given overwhelming feedback from a survey. The majority of the district of participants that took part in the calendar committee survey voiced in opposition. And so it was mentioned to table this item. Given, and especially given the consideration from public comment too regarding childcare, that was also mentioned in the survey data. What's the name of the survey provider we use again?
Thought Exchange.
Thought Exchange. So Thought Exchange actually took the information that the teachers provided. I think it's fine. It was overwhelming. It was about 71% feedback from the district. A lot of it considered about childcare, that at this time we're not going to move forward with changing the calendar given the feedback. And it was
Over 1,200 employees responded.
over 1,200 employees responded. I was going to say 1,000. I was in the ballpark. So I would entertain a motion to table this item.
So moved.
It's been moved by Ms. Perez to table.
Second that.
Second by Ms. Casimir. Any debate regarding the item? Mr. Traber?
Just a point, I specifically asked that question at the committee meeting last week and was told that that discussion had already transpired. So I just want to go on the record and say that I don't appreciate having to come back to this like this.
Okay. Mr. Anastasi?
Madam Chair, there's no debate on a motion to table.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you very much. So all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion to table carries. The last item on the agenda is information regarding kinder enrollment.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. I'm the Director of Early Childhood, and I'm here tonight to present to you some information regarding the new legislation set forth by the state. Sam, do you have the presentation? You should have it in front of you and some supporting items as well that I will just go over briefly. I know we went through it in committee the other night, but it's a very brief presentation that has the important information. Last year, the state of Connecticut changed the start age for kindergarten from January 1st to September 1st. And with that legislation, actually you can go to the next slide, thank you. There are some flexibilities that we can consider. And the plan that we've come up with is, with the two flexibilities that the state has provided, is that parents may request early entry if they have children that are born between September 2nd and January 1st of next year. and that the districts may choose to do an assessment as part of that request to decide if their child is ready to enter kindergarten. To the next slide, please. So what does that mean for Bridgeport Public Schools next year? The plan that we've come up with would let parents.
Richard, don't mean to cut you off, but you can't have that side exchange in the middle of a live meeting. It's subject to FOIA, so I don't want you to have to disclose the conversation, so please to be in your seat while the presenter is presenting. Thank you.
Thank you. So parents will be able to request early entry if their child turns 5, again, like I said, between September 2nd and January 1st. Registration will serve as that request, so we're going to streamline that process so there aren't multiple requests going on at one time. All they have to do is register for kindergarten. As part of that registration, there will be a CDC milestones checklist. It's about 15 items that the parent can respond to and give feedback about their child's current level of performance when it comes to social emotional development, language development, and a couple other items that they can respond to. Those results will be viewable by the and by the administration and the teachers. Our goal is to provide access to our kindergarten programs to as many families as possible. We know that this is potentially an unexpected financial burden that may arise because of this, with an unexpected year of childcare or pre-K that a family hadn't anticipated. And it would also potentially affect our enrollment in kindergarten and could possibly cause a reduction of our kindergarten staff if we don't take this flexibility. So we would like to open our doors to as many students in kindergarten as possible. This will also open up our spaces in our pre-K4 programs, allowing for us to maximize the number of spaces in pre-K4 and in kindergarten with these flexibilities next year. Parents may choose to opt out of the assessment and registration and keep their child in a pre-K4 program for another year if they choose. If we do have children that are currently enrolled in our pre-K4 programs and those campuses collaborate with the families, they may also choose another year of pre-K if that has been discussed and collaborated with the parents, the families, and with the school staff as well for the 2025-2026 school year. Next slide, please. I can continue without it. You have it in front of you. But this is part of a larger 3-year plan because this is legislation. It is something that we are going to have to meet eventually. So as part of this plan, our pre-K3 start date will change to September 1st for next year. There will be flexibility for our 3-year-olds to move into our 4-year-old programs, our 4-year-olds to move into our kindergartens. And again, that registration request will be honored if they choose to move from a 3-year-old program to a 4-year-old program for next school year. Next slide, please. For the following year, our start age will change for our pre-K3 and pre-K4 programs so that students must be 3 or 4 years old by September 1st to eventually get us to that legislation. But next year, we do plan to offer the same flexibilities with an early entry request for registration. And next slide, please. So eventually by the 2026-2027 school year, we will have met the legislation and all students entering our 3, 4, and 5-year-old programs will have a September 1st requirement, and they must turn those ages by those dates in order to enter those programs. And that's it.
Okay, are there any questions from board members? Ms. Casimir?
Yes, just one question. The milestone checklist, does that happen to be the ages and stages screening or something else?
It's similar, it's not the same. It should be included in your packet. If not, it's linked in the presentation as well. Yeah.
That was it, thank you.
Any other questions or comments, Mr. Sokolovic?
Yes, thank you. Once again, I want to reiterate what I said at the committee meeting. I've been worrying about this. I think almost 3 superintendents from its inception. I automatically saw the immediate hit on ECS that was possible. My only concern, thank you for doing all this work, it's Seems like a great plan. My only concern is having it vetted by legal, just to ensure we're not hit with any surprises that if anything's like out of compliance, especially with the certified staff having to perform the evaluation, that this is going to be sufficient.
An additional piece of information that I didn't share at the committee meeting that I considered later was when I mentioned we had collaborated with other districts and towns to talk about, what other plans were. Present at that meeting were staff from the Office of Early Childhood who work for the state. So that those staff members were present as well in talking and developing plans across the state.
Awesome. So it's looking good. Do we have any plan for you?
You have to turn your mic off, Mr. Traber.
Waving my hand. Good. Yep.
Yeah, I just had a follow-up question. Year 3, is there any way we could stagger the dates in year 3? Because it looks like year 3 is like a cliff. Can we ease up to it? Would that be legal, to ease up for October, we'll have the waivers, and in November we could have the waivers, and then
That's definitely something to consider. I know you had mentioned the other night about, getting to that process eventually, and the considerations of that. But I think with the 3-year plan and staggering it from 3s to 4s to 5s might achieve that. You also had mentioned, what will come in year 3. There may be more information that's shared by the state as this develops and progresses that we may get, and we may have to revisit this next year or the year after. But with the information that we have now, this seemed like the best plan to eventually get to that start date without having a really hard cutoff and making it, a challenge for families or a challenge for the district.
Awesome, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Medina.
Quick question. I think you said it in your statement. Parents can opt out?
If parents choose to have their child remain in pre-K for another year, they have that option. They can either choose to stay in one of our programs, a community program, a home-based daycare, or they can opt to register for kindergarten and come in, and it would be considered an early entry. You're welcome.
Mr. Traber.
So if I missed it, I'm sorry. Did you get the legal, you said there was somebody from the state there, but
right.
Did you get our legal opinion on this?
To my knowledge, no, we haven't had our legal.
Are we going to? Madam Chair, this I guess directed at you.
There's no motion to enter into request an opinion from legal for this item.
I make a motion to request an opinion from legal.
Can I just make a comment? With all being considered, this is legislation and it meets the mandates and the requirements set forth. I mean, you can
they have to
do whatever you choose, but I just want to point that out, that this is legislation that has been put in our lap that we need to meet and accommodate, and it meets the mandates that the state is requiring. So that's all I want to say.
Has it right there in the pack.
So just so I can understand, there's a motion to meet with legal, request an opinion from legal to.
About my motion.
Okay, because I'm just trying to understand if we meet all the requirements per state statute, what we're asking from legal.
Ultimately, to confirm that we have met those motions. So when to run what you put together by legal to make sure that we have met those requirements as mandated by the legislation, in the legislation, to confirm that we've met those legislative requirements. That's what I'm proposing that we run by legal. Is in the end, I believe that committee meeting last week, Mr. Sokolovic has been raising this for months, and he was ecstatic to hear your report last week, and justifiably so. This is good work, and it's an excellent report, and it's very encouraging to see that we're moving in a good direction. You have done we need to do to address what our concerns are. And I believe that there's no reason to feel that we haven't done what we need to do. It's just that final sort of make sure that our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed legally in the end. But I don't know that we're there yet. I would defer to you on that and your expertise, frankly.
So this is not an action item. So what you're asking would be it would need to be added to the agenda. So we'll first need to add this to the agenda as an action item. That would require a 2/3 vote. And then if it's added to the agenda item as a special addition to seek a legal opinion, let me just make sure, Then, okay, you withdraw the motion. Ms. Perez, okay. Mr. Sokolovic? Mr. Traber, you still have your mic on?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to add the 2/3 to the agenda by 2/3, seeking a legal opinion to see if this plan is in compliance with state statute.
Ms. Perez?
Can I ask for clarity on this motion? Can I ask for clarity on the motion? Would you like the city attorney or the board attorney in terms of legal?
I think it should.
Yes, Ms. Anderson.
My opinion, but I would suggest that's something that probably would be appropriately done by Birch and Moses, and it's something I would defer to them on because they have more expertise in that area. So to the extent you approve and ask for it, that's where we would see that it goes.
Add to my motion, Birch and Moses, from Birch and Moses.
Okay.
Second.
Mr. Sokolovic, it's inappropriate to say second, then wave 2 fingers, especially as the cameras are on us. So.
Thank you for your.
No, please. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Mr. Traber. Roll call vote.
I had to get my pen out because I packed it up. So this is a motion to
add to the agenda an opinion regarding by Bertram and Moses regarding our compliance with the state statute.
Christine Baptiste Perez.
Nope.
Albert Bennigan.
Yes.
Talking about spending money, wasting.
Akeisha Casimir.
No.
Willie Medina.
Yes.
Jennifer Perez is going to say no because of the costs associated with going through legal. Joseph Sokolovic.
Yes.
Robert Traber.
Yes.
Andre Woodson.
No.
Deadlock. Motion fails. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Perez.
Second.
Second by Ms. Casimir. All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Nope. Okay. The meeting has adjourned. The time now is 10:30 p.m. Good night.